Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 340th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call we have Andy Patterson, Gabe Lewis and Dave the Hater Lowback. Looking forward to a few Bellew of the Weeks next week, plenty flying in, some really funny ones included. Look forward to that. Not a lot of action next week, we were just going through it off air there. Very dry week, but there was plenty of action over the weekend. Devin Haney, Jaime Munguia, BT Sport Card last night as well. We'll be getting all to that shortly. There's only one place to start, that's the T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas. Tyson Fury defending his lineal championship against Otto Wallin. At one point last night, Mr. Joe Tessitore, who was pissing me off, actually said something like, "We could see an upset here. Wallin could be walking out with the lineal championship at the end of the night," as if he was going to have some kind of mythical belt around his waist. I don't want to get bogged down in that, but they were terrible. Bellew of the Week worthy. Mr. Tessitore, you were really doing my head in last night. As for the fight itself, I thought that Tyson Fury, who won on points, showed some pretty decent qualities actually, some grit, determination, all in the light of a horrific cut. It was bordering on Vitaly Klitschko's, maybe even worse, but it was certainly a bad one. I'm not a massive Fury fan, Dave. I think he talks a lot of nonsense at times. The whole drugs episode was never satisfactorily cleared up for me, but he's a genuine asset to the heavyweight division. And inadvertently, last night, he provided an intriguing evening's boxing for the paying public against a surprisingly sprightly opponent. Yeah, we seem to have a bit of a technical issue there. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, mate. I just got a direct call back there. It's like
yeah, it was a bit weird, wasn't it?
1471, there's a bit like 1471 there, you know?
Not really sure what happened there. It was a bit of a strange one. Hopefully everybody in the Mixler can still hear me okay. It's going to be brilliant on the podcast when it comes back later. Ozzy's just jumped in anyway. I got a call back from Ozzy, and it's we can hear you, says Take Ames. Maybe there was an issue, maybe there wasn't an issue, who knows. My spiel could be lost forever, Dave the Hater Lowback. We'll not worry about that. Tell me about Tyson Fury. Cut and all, he got the job done. What do you think, Dave?
Phenomenal fight, possibly fight of the year contender. There's a traded knockdowns in the second. Tyson battled back and really showed a great deal of heart to rally and stop Wallin way behind on the cards in the 9th round. I didn't watch it, sorry.
You did watch it, Dave. You saw the highlights, you enjoyed it. I mean, what's not to like about the Gypsy King? Did you see the photo of his cut? Half of his face was hanging off. Have you ever been cut like that in a street fight, Dave?
Well, he's a fighting man, and no fighting man's going to stop for no gash. At least not a gash. It's not between my woman's legs.
So it did look quite nasty, the cut. I did see the picture. I did see highlights, and I did see the first round and part of the second round. I like what I was seeing from Wallin. I'm not going to be able to analyze this, obviously. I like what I saw from Wallin, though, from what little I did see. And credit to him. As far as like what this means for Fury, I mean, I hope he's learned a lesson here as far as, because he didn't look that focused to me starting things off. He looked a bit, like this is another routine thing. Wallin's not that great. I can be expected to take him apart here. But Wallin was not there to lose, and good for him. He cut Fury. He's taken him out of the running for the foreseeable future till that thing heals up. And he made him look awkward. It was not. It was like the last time they gambled with Schwartz, and they gambled, and that paid off masterfully. Really, I mean, Tyson Fury was the talk of the boxing world, even reaching into the sports in general world. Everybody was excited. He looked great. It was stylish. Tonight didn't pay off so well.
Didn't pay off so well, Gabe. John Fury wasn't happy anyway, Tyson's dad. He's called for the entire team to be sacked. He says Tyson needs to be up at 19 stone, too light, coming in at 18 stone 1, and he looked like he was running on empty from round 2. I must admit, when I saw Fury in the ring, he did seem taller than Wallin as he was, but he wasn't like a beanpole, but he did seem quite slim to me, and maybe that was affecting him later on. He needed that bit of extra power in the clinches or something. But what do you think about that, Gabe? Are you in agreement with John Fury? I mean, why wouldn't you be in agreement with John Fury? He's not the kind of guy you're going to disagree with anyway, is he?
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's logically, it would make sense for him to be lighter considering the style that he typically prefers to fight with. So his movement will be good. So he will be quick. So he can have plenty of upper body movement as well as the legs. So logically, it makes sense for him to come in at a lighter weight as opposed to a heavier weight. But I think part of the issue that you have whenever you try to come in light, like he did, is that you're gonna naturally run out of steam, just because you've exerted so much effort to get down in weight. So your body's not going to respond the same way. Your hydration is going to be different. Your overall energy levels are going to be different. I mean, I think it's really kind of a biological issue that whenever you try to drop down lower, you're going to naturally rob yourself of some things, some of that strength that you have naturally, as if you just come in at an even weight that's close to what you walk around at. Especially in the heavyweight division, though, because this division is not capped. So for a guy fighting at 147 to come in light, I mean, I think you can see that happen on a different level because they're trying to get down to make that weight to start with, versus a guy like Fury who maybe he comes in a little bit naturally heavier. I would assume that would probably be in my opinion, a better overall fit for him because he's going to have the athleticism, but he's not going to be robbed of his energy and his strength from draining down over the course of camp. Now, whether it's 15, 20 pounds versus 2, 3 pounds lighter, making a big difference, it definitely could. There's not much going to happen in 2 or 3 pounds, but whenever you come in quite a bit lower, then I would think that it could cause problems like we saw last night, where he didn't seem especially powerful at some points. And then as the fight wore on, he in the 12th round, he got rocked a little bit. And so I think not having a little bit of extra weight behind him probably didn't help his case any with taking, I forget which punch it was that started that whole shenanigans. I think it was a left hand, but I mean, I wouldn't disagree with what Fury's saying, just because of the way that I'm thinking about it here.
Gabe, just quickly, what about Otto Wallin's performance? It was commendable. There was an amazing bit of shithousery around the cut. I thought the dude has a bit of devil in him. Joey Gamach was telling him to target the cut in any way possible, and that egregious wipe of the glove across the cut right in front of the referee, Tony Weeks. So I'm not too fussed with, to be honest. That's a story for a different day. But what about Wallin's shithousery? He's a magnificent bastard, Gabe.
Yeah, I really enjoyed some of the stuff that he was doing. I guess shithousery is a really good term for that, because he was doing some shit that I thought was a little bit unsportsmanlike. But I mean, you're in a fight for the heavyweight with the heavyweight champion of the world. If you're not cheating, you're not fucking trying, and that goes to tactics like that. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the people that are using the performance enhancing drugs, but he didn't play clean, which is in some ways I think it shows a little bit of his balls, because he definitely wasn't afraid to get dirty, wasn't afraid to get rough, and so it would appear that a mindset like that could lead him to not necessarily say that being dirty is the mindset a person needs to be successful, but I think it showed that he realized the gravity of the situation that he was in and the opportunity that was in front of him. And I think that's what's missing with a lot of fighters that you see, is that they don't seem to realize the urgency of what they're doing a lot of times. You get guys like some of those younger fighters that look like Floyd Mayweather wannabes, and they're content to box 12 rounds and take a decision, or 8 rounds in their 8-round debut fights and things along those lines, and there's no urgency. And so I like the urgency, and I like to watch a guy who's not afraid to mix it up and get a little bit nasty in there.
Gabe enjoying all the nastiness. Plenty of nastiness in the chat. Shout out to everybody in there. See Jason Chuckwew knocking about. MB as well, Andy, is with us tonight. He has a question for the pod. How do you people feel about broadcasters communicating with one of the corners as the fight is going on? I don't mind it because you get that insight from the corner people, but they're clearly not enthused about it. Nobody wants to be interviewed during the fight. They're always distracted, aren't they? Bernardo Asuna has the mic in the face, and they're sort of like, yeah, whatever, go away type of thing. It hasn't got Andy as bad as an Alex Arthur fight. You might remember this. ITV once tried. Wayne McCulloch was training Alex Arthur. It might have been for one of the European title fights, maybe against Palomo or the Belarusian that he fought. But anyway, they interviewed him in between rounds, so he was giving instructions to Alex Arthur, McCulloch was, and Gabriel Clark climbed in the ring and was trying to interview him while he was giving instructions. Now that's definitely something I don't want to see again.
No, I don't want to see that. Gabriel Clark is a bit of a tadger anyway, isn't he? But no, I've no issue with it per se, like, because obviously there's been instances in the past. I remember Harry Carpenter once interviewed Muhammad Ali when he was fighting there. Here was it? I don't know if it was Brian London or maybe one of the Henry Cooper fights or whatever and stuff. But no, I've no problem with it. What I'll say, as you were saying, I mean, I kind of tuned out for like Tessitore and stuff like that, but I did hear Tim Bradley kind of like moaning about, like, say, fighters no fighting, or if they want to fight kind of like semi-decent fights or fight the best, or wanting $10 million and stuff. I think Tessitore then asked him, he says, look what you got for Pacquiao. He went, 3 times that. So we Timmy was making sure he told us what his paycheck was like, you know.
It is a bit mad. What about the fight itself then, Andy? Obviously I asked Gabe about the John Fury situation. As for Ben Davidson, whenever we have a performance like this or something even goes slightly wrong, people are sometimes quick to jump on people's backs. But I thought Ben Davidson actually, to his credit, dealt with the situation very well. He was calm, he was composed, he didn't panic. He gave good advice to Fury throughout. I have no issues with him or his performance, and that's not an agenda. I don't care about Davidson or not, but I thought he did pretty well last night. No beef from me.
Well, to be honest, when I woke up this morning, I do my usual routine, and I check the results before I watch the fight, and that is just a bad habit I've got. But you know, when I opened it up, it says Fury's went a distance, and that, I was like, oh shit, man, because you know I was well, it depends what your view is, but I suppose I was slightly kind of critical or negative, not towards Wallin and that last couple of 2-3 weeks and stuff. But he stepped up, and
with good reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He came to win. As I says, he was looking for the left hand. He laid it on the line in the 12th round and stuff. You know, for a guy who, in my opinion, was outclassed in the latter half of that fight, Fury did have to adjust with the cut, which is really bad. I mean, obviously, he's not going to fight again this year. It's probably going to delay the Wilder fight. Surgery is going to be required on that. It could be 6-7 months before we see that fight happening. But as for Fury and stuff, it was a decent performance. Again, as I said, under that issue and stuff, you see great shit housery for Wallin and that as well, trying every trick in the book. I don't know if things changed and stuff. I seen Frank Warren making comments and that as well about what Fury's corner was told at the time of the cut. But I watched the ESPN broadcast. They were saying because it was caused by a punch, that if the fight was stopped, I don't know if it was because of California rules and stuff, like Fury would have lost that fight on a TKO. But then I think Warren mentioned something about something, you know, they've been told in between rounds and that was maybe caused by a headbutt. I don't know.
They had, Andy, sorry to interrupt, but exactly, Osuna said to Ben Davison that Davison was under the impression that it had been caused by a headbutt because Tony Weeks had told them that, and they broke the news to him that it was in fact a punch, which you're right, it was.
Right, okay. I don't know, again, maybe it can maybe kind of change up a wee bit and stuff like that, you know, change the game plan. But I did think Fury, as I say, he was definitely getting riled and stuff. He was pissed off. You know, somebody mentioned to me earlier on about an IFL interview that apparently he was really irritated and stuff in it as well. So clearly, you know, bad night at the office and that, because, you know, regardless if he won the fight handedly or no over 12 rounds, that is a horrid cut to take. And it's one that he doesn't really want at this point in his career, especially with that big rematch kind of like in the off and stuff. And you just don't know. I mean, it might even delay it even, you know, by another year, because, you know, does Wilder want to hang about for another, say conservative estimates, Fury's out for 6 months. You know, Wilder's fighting shortly and stuff. You know, is he going to be sitting about for an additional 3 months, say, waiting for Fury hopefully to and then what happens if it opens up during sparring? That's just going to be an absolute horrible fucking situation. Like,
yeah, I can't see that cut improving if someone catches it in the future. Like a better finisher, like a Wilder or Ortiz, someone of that calibre, you could see them really doing the damage on Fury. If it had been Wallin with that cut, I have no doubt that they would have got him out around the 8th or 9th round. They wouldn't have stood for that. But, you know, the corner man, Mr. Capetillo, did an excellent job with Fury. I'll be coming to you, Ozzy, very shortly on the Deontay Wilder situation, and he's preempted me on that one. Before we do so, Gabe, I believe you wanted to say something about ESPN. Maybe a bit of praise for the ESPN team, or maybe a bit of slander.
Not a fucking chance. In reference to your point about them communicating with the cornermen during the fight, Bernardo Osuna, I don't know what broadcast you guys all were able to watch, but on the ESPN Plus broadcast, Osuna goes to the corner after the cut. I forget if it was a round or two after, and is talking to Fury's corner, and Fury's corner says they believe that the cut was caused by a headbutt. And Osuna takes it upon himself to inform the corner that it wasn't a headbutt, that it wasn't a headbutt, that it was caused by a punch, and that was what the commission had ruled. So I didn't like that very much. I don't care about the interviews during the fight. It doesn't bother me one way or the other. I could see now if I was a cornerman, I'd tell him to fuck out. But I don't think, to me as a viewer, it matters much either way. But I didn't like the way that they took it upon themselves to inform the corner of what the ruling had been, and then possibly alter the output of the fight. That's the first time that I feel like I've watched a broadcast where the people putting on the broadcast have interfered like that and had possibly the opportunity to impact the outcome of the fight. Because if they had carried on believing that it was a headbutt and the fight had gotten stopped and went to because of the cut and then been ruled a TKO, then that's one thing. I mean, it still wouldn't make it necessarily right that they weren't informed by the commission and the referee. But the fact that ESPN feels like they can just arbitrarily make decisions about who can be informed of what and when is a little bit shitty to me. And to be honest with you, I didn't like that very much, just because of the way that they constantly talk people up and they constantly do things to make fighters sound better than they are, or to build this huge backstory. And now they've just crossed this fucking line where they're having the potential to impact the fight, which to me is way overboard. I didn't like to see that at all, and I would invite you guys to keep your eyes peeled and try to notice it next time it happens, because I'm sure if there's not much discussion about that, then it has the potential to happen again later on. And
Gabe, in this instance, Gabe, they were giving him the correct information. The referee and Ben Davison were in light of erroneous information, so they were basing their decisions based on a fallacy. So ESPN surely were doing the right thing by bringing them up to speed and making sure everyone was on the same page.
I disagree, because if you're gonna say, okay, you can do the right thing, that gives them the leeway to decide what the right thing is. They don't get to make that decision. Broadcasters, they show us the fucking fight. They don't get to impact the fight. Whether positively or negatively, they should not impact the fight and the outcome of the fight. When that happens, we're going to fucking WWE territory, and next thing you know, Undertaker's going to be fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship against Fury. I understand exactly what you're saying, so that's partially the reason why I'm not extremely perturbed about the events as they unfolded. But you cannot allow a broadcaster to influence the outcome of the fight in any way, shape, form, or fashion, because you do it here in a positive way. What's to prevent them from doing it later on in a negative way? The line's already.
What about Wallin's corner? Do you think Wallin's corner were in light of the same information?
That's another question. I don't know that. So if that was the case, then surely he could have reason to protest that whole scenario as well, where if either way it turns out, why were they given information that their corner was not given? The potential there
The
is
fucking
is
officials
that
and the
moral
commission had done their
ambiguity
job.
where they fucked up.
Dave, you come in on this one. I agree with what Gabe's saying because it does give them a bit of leeway, but at the same time, if Asuna's talking to Ben Davidson in any context and Davidson says to him, oh yeah, it's been caused by a headbutt, then Asuna, is he under, does he have to turn around and say, well no, actually it's not been caused by a headbutt? Was it the way he purveyed the information, or where do you stand on this?
I'm not going to come down on Osuna for this. I think the commission and the officials should notify all parties that are involved in the fight what is going on in the fight. They should be well apprised of all information that is pertinent to the way the fight proceeds. So Osuna should have been able to say whatever he wants to say, provide whatever information he wants to provide, because they should already know it. So I don't think it's his job to worry about that sort of thing. It's the commission's fault.
I think if they're going to do interviews, they need to do interviews. Ask them a question. How do you feel about the way the fight's going? How do you feel your fighter's doing? Is the cut a problem? Not, did you know that this cut was deemed to cause this? I agree with you 100%, Dave, that it should be the fucking commission's responsibility to make sure that happens. That's miscommunication and poor management on their end, and that's where it starts. But you can't take a fault of them and then go and do whatever the fuck you want to do and say, okay, that makes it right. Because there's no journalistic integrity in the way that they do things to start with. Because, yeah, they gave Wallen some time on the air and talked about his dad and all those kind of things. But they're heavily, heavily, heavily invested in Fury. There's so much money behind him at this point, and we all know that money is greed, and greed is going to cause these people to do things that they should not do. So whenever you have that issue, it's on the commission. I mean, it really is. That's where it starts at. But you can't just do whatever the fuck you want to do because you're the broadcaster. I mean, if HBO did that, Miguel Cotto would have never lost a fucking fight. You could sit there and name the list off. Andre Berto, who had so much money behind him at a certain point in time, would be undefeated right now and fighting pay-per-view fights and possibly talking about retirement as an undefeated champion. Like there's no journalistic integrity to start with. So no, you can't fucking go over there and say what you want to say to whomever in whatever corner. I just don't think it's right. I think it's rubbish. And ESPN, I mean, they've got a track record of this kind of shit when they were filming a man who was in seriously poor condition and passed away days later. I mean, that's the issue. They can't just do whatever the fuck they want to do.
Yeah, Gabe makes a good point. He's turning me with his argument here because it is the home broadcaster who have a vested interest, financial interest in the one fighter going over and giving a certain amount of information. The problem does lie with the commission for me. I just felt that Asuna was in a no-win situation, even though they sent him over for one reason, was to get the story. They wanted the big reveal for him to tell Davidson. But if it had come about as Davidson was talking to him and had just said, oh yeah, well it's been caused by a headbutt anyway, so blah blah blah, Asuna would have found it difficult to have conducted the interview in the light of information without saying, well actually it wasn't. So I think it was maybe the manner he was sent over to convey that information that is a problem. So Gabe makes a good point as well there. On to you, Ozzy. Back to the Deontay Wilder situation. I was never convinced that the Wilder rematch would happen in February anyway. It's even less likely at the moment, but I did like how BT Sport earlier in the evening kept mentioning how the Wallin fight was a warm-up for the Wilder return when they were pushing the pay-per-view. Even they knew they were serving up a turd.
That's correct, but what did we expect, really? I mean, there was talks of certain American opponents who, to be honest, were probably on a similar level. I can't see how... I definitely don't see Tyson Fury fighting again this year, and I think dependent on how surgery goes, it was a gruesome cut, that. And I do wonder that if it was on the other side and it had happened to Otto Wallin, the fight may well have been stopped. But props to the cut man. He did a great job there, and that's what Fury pays him his money for, because his skills were really called upon there then, because Fury needed him. Do you think it probably impacted the way he wanted to fight? It was clearly a problem, which is obviously understandable. But, I mean, there's been a lot of disgust and hate towards Tyson Fury from last night, but whilst I don't think it was his best performance, by no means I don't think it was his worst either. Otto Wallin was better than probably what we gave him credit for. The guy's a European champion, so he's not a complete. Was a European champion, so he's not a complete absolute, like muppet. I think a lot of us expected Fury to probably get him out of there in a similar fashion to Tom Schwartz, but he shows he's got a bit about him, and his stock's risen from that without a doubt. He'll go on to probably go and get a couple, 2-3 more paydays to say the least. As for Tyson Fury, they're saying that he's got the rounds, he's got a much needed 12 rounds under his belt. Not too sure about that really. I think they would have preferred a much easier night. Like Andy mentioned before, I think the worst thing to come out of this, you can recover from a bad performance, and the media are so fickle in one perspective that you could have, put on a dazzling display next, and they only remember the most recent fight. But the worst thing that to come out of it was the cut, and it could potentially be a problem further down the line because, like you say, explosive punches. Not only do they hit hard, but if they can open up that cut early on, it is again going to pose a big problem for Tyson Fury. It's going to be interesting now. I hope the Wilder fight is not delayed massively. I don't think we want another, 12 months of it's happening and, Fury being served up, B standard opponents. I believe the tickets it flopped at the gate last night. So I don't think Bob Arum wants to be paying out millions of dollars to Fury to watch for opponents like this, and I think all efforts will be made to ensure that the Tyson Fury's next fight is Deontay Wilder. But if Andy Ruiz goes and beats Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder doesn't owe Tyson Fury another fight, and it wouldn't shock me if Ruiz and Wilder come through successfully in the next two fights, that we potentially see a fight for all the belts.
Ozzy, you mentioned about Fury there, maybe having a big time off in activity, maybe lapsing back. Do we think he's completely on point now, or is there always the risk that he will lapse and slide back off the rails again? I would doubt it. With such a massive contract on the table, it'd be wise to suck it up and do all the mad stuff after he retires. But what do you think about him sticking to the plan?
I think he is. It's evident. Look, he was in good shape. He was light, very light. Looked good for it. John Fury saying he needs to basically put on another stone and things like that, but it worked. Styles do make fights, and I think, what was he, a couple of pounds lighter than what he was when he boxed Vladimir Klitschko? Now, people weren't calling him a pussycat then and weak, and I don't think Fury looked weak either, to be honest. I thought he showed a decent engine. Put together some shots well, things like that. I wouldn't say he was weak and looked. I don't know what his dad. His comments were brutal, to be honest. To openly come out and say I would sack all of the team, and if he sticks with them, they're going to destroy his career. I
don't agree with that.
No, I don't agree with that at all. His dad was singing the praises of the team against Deontay Wilder, and what a fantastic job they've done. And now Tyson Fury doesn't put on another excellent display, and it's a case of sack the team, get everybody out there, get somebody else in. Well, no, I don't think John Fury suggested who Tyson should go to next, so it's easy enough just to come out and say, let's sack you, and that's it. There was no suggestions, and I don't agree with that at all. He shared some concerns about the training that he's doing and things like that, and Davidson said, to be honest, he said no, it probably is time for a rest because he's had two fairly intense camps, and it's probably the most active Fury's been in a very long time in terms of amount of fights in a calendar year and things like that. What was it when he boxed Tom Schwartz 12 weeks ago, and he essentially went straight back, maybe had a week off and was straight back into another camp. So maybe was he jaded? I'm not sure, but I thought he looked okay, to be honest. I wouldn't say he looked weak. And I don't think he'll lapse either. I think he's got his head screwed on, and like I said, Davidson, he clearly clicks with Davidson and has the respect there. So I would be shocked I wouldn't be shocked. It's Tyson Fury, but no, I think he'll stay on the focus, and that is Deontay Wilder.
Go on, Dave.
Is it possible that John Fury is a bit of an unstable dickhead?
Oh yeah, he's a nutcase.
Lovely fella.
To be fair, didn't John Fury
You see, him and Dave.
used
no
to
problem at all.
coach Tyson Fury for his first 10 to 12
See,
fights?
Yeah.
I'm safe because he's not allowed in America.
Yeah, right. He'll get you.
He can't come here, so I'm
He'll
safe.
find you. Safe.
So we.
What about anybody? Go on, Ozzy.
No, I was just going to say, no, I mean, I'm just having a look who he actually oversaw the what's it called for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, I mean, Fury was in the court, John Fury was in the corner for relative garbage. I think the biggest fight was the John McDermott first English title fights, and there was arguments that Tyson lost. So, I mean, his dad's okay to slag people off and things like that, but he wasn't the best of trainers, to say the least, and the fact that he was never welcomed back when he was out of prison says it all. So I think it was a bit insensitive and, quite frankly, wrong what he came out with on this instance.
Yeah, I remember early on people calling for a change in trainer, and he went over to Peter Fury and everything clicked and it seemed to be going well for a while, so nothing new there. Swaggy Taggy says, I love that John Fury is on the BT team because he can't legally enter the USA. Shout out to Swaggy, Take Ames, all the other boys in the chat having a great time over there. Shout out to Jorge Capetillo as well. If Tyson's dropping $7 million over to the homeless, he should maybe give a extra few K to Mr. Capetillo for keeping him in it. I thought he did a very good job. I heard Capetillo and I thought, oh, should I be praising him? It's not Javier Capetillo, is it? At first, you remember him of the hand wrap fame with a Margarito. Nothing to do with him though, it's Mr. Jorge Capetillo. Did a great job with that cut. On the undercard, Andy, Emmanuel Navarrete.
Needed more than plaster to fix that, King.
Exactly, yeah. Bit of plaster of Paris in the eye. Emmanuel Navarrete got a 4th round knockout win over Juan Miguel Elorde. I was wondering about the surname, relative of the old Flash, the Filipino Flash of years gone by, but he wasn't able to put in a good performance. Got a few left hooks off. Navarrete got the job done. I like the turnaround with Navarrete, Andy. He got Divaca away in a couple of rounds a few weeks ago. They obviously thought to themselves, better get on a decent Mexican on the show, build it up for the Mexican weekend. They quick turnaround for Navarrete. I'm warming to him. Didn't expect him to beat Dogbo for the title. He did. He's making these facile defences, but at least he's active, and I'd like to see him looking toward a unification soon. What did you make of his performance over Flash Elorde? Andy, sorry.
Sorry, mate, I was talking away there and I'm fucking sitting on mute, sorry. No, he was, I banged him out basically. He was imposed as well on top of him, you say, good body punching. As you say, he was basically put on this card purely because it's Mexicans at Independence Weekend or whatever it is. And Bob Arum's in the ring after his last fight, just basically telling him you're on that card and stuff, so clearly, and you could hear they had the back in there as well, so unification fights next. What weight was that again? Sorry.
He's up at Super Bantam, isn't he? So you've got Daniel Roman, who I think is the best of the bunch, and then Ray Vargas, who consistently underwhelms me.
Oh, then you've got Ronnie Rios, kind of somewhere in there as well. You know, we don't want to see any of that stuff. Yeah. Like so. Well, Danny Roman, I suppose we can go with that one. Elorde, I think, was quite high ranked for me. I remember reading an article in Asian Boxing a couple of days ago.
Yes.
Don't know, mate. Super bantamweight's not really kind of. Who else we got? We've got one of the Uzbeks in there. Forget what one I guess again at the minute.
Akhmadaliev.
Akhmadaliev, aye.
Yeah. Brandon Figueroa looks handy, doesn't he? But the thing is with this, Navarrete, if you look at the top 10 of the WBO, there's nothing that excites me whatsoever in that. I want to see him fighting other guys. I don't want to see any more defences because he'll steamroller all of them guys in the WBO.
I just pulled up the WBO ranking, so he beat that Divaca and he's also beat Dogbo twice, so that there's top 10 ranked opponents he's beat there. He's obviously in there. Elorde's another one, so you would think anyway the WBO would if he was wanting to get a unification fight. I mean, he's fought 3 high ranked challengers and stuff like that back to back, so yeah, if he's wanting a unification fight, I think they'll give him dispensation for that as well. So, but what is a promotional deal again? So we got Navarrete with top rank, Romano with DAZN, Eddie,
yeah.
So
Vargas is the golden boy.
Eddie needs champions to kind of fill out his cards and his own dates and that as well, so unless the money's there, the money talks at the end of the day, I suppose. But you're going to have an issue with the kind of broadcast platform issue and that as well, who knows. But thinking about maybe I move up in weight and that, but at the minute I think what's the point? He's got a title. He's well cashing in on that title at the minute, and that's kind of rack up a few defences if we can, you know. And he is an exciting fighter at this point. What is he? 25?
I'm not sure. He's not that old, is he?
Aye. So at this point, let him learn. Let him get a few paydays. Let him kind of get a few defences under his belt and stuff. I don't see the rush. They got him weight or anything like that at the minute and stuff. And if we're going to have political issues trying to get unification fights made, then stay where you are, mate.
Yeah, he's 24, he's tall, he can punch, I agree. I would like to see him try and unify. They got Hooker and Ramirez together, and obviously Lomachenko's fought the likes of Campbell, so they can do cross-promotional agreements when it suits. The thing is, these days, it's not going to be as easy as back in the day whenever you had Showtime, HBO. They were both television outlets. You managed to push the likes of Mayweather, Pacquiao together. You pushed the likes of Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson together. But they're streaming outlets now, aren't they? Is that going to make things more difficult? It could do. It could do. Anybody else want to chime in on anything else on the undercard? You can talk about Navarrete if you want. Jose Zepeda, I did watch this one, beat Jose Pedraza on over 10 rounds. Zepeda started off well, started to fade a bit and then came on strong towards the end. Didn't see Carlos Cuadras, didn't see Isaac Lowe. Felix Valera lost by disqualification to Vyacheslav Shabransky. And Gabe Flores Jr., he's going places, 15-0. He's fighting a 6-rounder in his 15th fight. Maybe just taking things nice and slowly with him. Anything from the undercard, guys? Chime in now if you wish. Doesn't sound like it. Dave, I've got some information for you, though. Michael Fox over in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Forget about that. It was the main event. Eric Spring lost on the undercard to Courtney Pennington. I know you're a big fan of Mr. Spring. Been following his career, Dave, for quite a long time. Are you gutted that Eric and his fans didn't get to see a glorious victory in Bethlehem?
Spring Street, baby.
No, I'm glad. He robbed my man from York, PA, so screw him. Eric Spring. Looks like he had to fight away from home this time. I think he's from Reading. But sounds like a great card. Too bad I missed it.
Exactly. Too bad you missed it indeed. While you're there, though, Dave, one thing you did see on Friday night, hardcore that you are, Michael Hunter defeating Sergei Kuzmin. Me and Andy picked Hunter last week. He was just too sharp for Kuzmin. He was a bit of a lump. Couldn't deal with the speed and the timing of Hunter. Outboxed him, dropped him with a swiping left hook in the 5th round. Looked pretty good. He'll cause trouble, I think, Hunter, Dave, for the top heavyweights without necessarily beating any of them.
He was gutted he never got a knockout to, eh? This is a cruiserweight to.
Yep.
He's a pleasure to watch. I really like Hunter. Ever since he did quite well against Usyk, and really he barely just hung in there. Usyk almost got him out of there, but I quite like Hunter. And it wasn't as good of a fight as it was against Bakoli. That was a bit more back and forth, at least for the first 6. Then it was just a beatdown on Hunter's part. But the guy, he works hard. He throws a ton of punches. He moves his head. He moves his feet. He's all over the place. And I think he's just too nimble and agile for some of these guys. Some of these big lumps like Kuzmin to deal with. I'm all for cruiserweights moving up to heavyweight and seeing what they can do. As long as they're in shape. I mean, Eddie Chambers, not so much. I mean, he had his moments, but guys like that are in shape. Usyk, I'm happy to see him up at heavyweight. I'm happy to see if Bradis moves up to heavyweight after this tournament ends, if it does end. I'd look forward to seeing what Michael Hunter does next. He's been quite good at heavyweight. He's made more waves at heavyweight than he made at cruiserweight even. So good for him.
Yeah, he still put in a good performance against Usyk down at cruiserweight. That's when I got on the Michael Hunter train. Very impressed with his performance, and he'd been quite inactive as well, and not had many fights. He pushed Usyk pretty close before getting. Did it get to points or did he get stopped late? I think he might have got stopped in the 12th round, but he gave a very good account of himself anyway. On a heavyweight theme then, Andy, before we get on to Devin Haney, feel free to talk about Michael Hunter, and also maybe in this same kind of class of heavyweight, Carlos Takam got a win in New York over Craig Lewis. It was to keep him busy. It was only by 2 points on one of the cards, so Mr. Lewis must have done okay for a few of the rounds. But Takam, Hunter, these are the guys, like I said, they're not going to cause the top heavyweights too many problems, but they're always going to be in the mix. Whenever there's a Joe Joyce or someone like that, they're there to test them. The gatekeeper, they're a yardstick. They're really good fighters. They're going to be able to get the wins and get the upset wins, maybe like Hunter did against Bakole. But Takam and Michael Hunter, they're going to get opportunities in this current climate, Andy?
Well, definitely, and to be honest, keep your eye on the rankings over the next, whenever they come out now, but as this mid-September, so probably next 4 to 5 weeks, and see where Hunter can end up, because I did know that Kuzmin was quite high ranked with WBA, so wouldn't be surprised if he ended up dropping into top 3, top 4, and then it becomes, you know, as you say, a potential opponent for Joe Joyce. Again, you maybe got a promotional issue there as well, but who knows? We might even get the rematch at heavyweight, guys, this time between Usyk and Michael Hunter. Who knows? He pushed him, but he gave Usyk, he gave him a kind of decent fight, and cruiserweight and stuff. Who knows? I might get a rematch on it at heavyweight as well.
Yes, you are listening to episode 340 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. That's Andy you heard there, Gabe Lewis, Dave the Hater Lowback, Ozzy Smith are with us as well. No signs of rapping Rob Kelly yet. You're doing a little message, he'll be with us very shortly, he assures us. Ozzy, on the Michael Hunter situation, a few of the guys in the chat, Swaggy Taggy said, I'd like to see Adam Kovnacki against Michael Hunter. Bit of a cross-promotional issue possibly there. I don't like Okoli versus Ngannou. I'd prefer he fights Riakpori first. That's Jason Chukwu. He also says Lawrence Okoli versus Michael Hunter, Ozzy, will be an anticipated showdown at heavyweight in a couple of years. Mark my words. Hunter beats Takam, and I'd back him to beat Joe Joyce as well, says Jason. Are you on the Michael Hunter train? Does he serve a purpose in the heavyweights, Oz?
Yeah, quite right. He stepped up to heavyweight after a commendable effort against Usyk. And he's answered he's answered everything that's been asked of him. Like I say, he was brought over certainly as the opponent against Martin Bakole and battered him, to be honest. I mean, he's got a couple of them routine wins over like Alexander Rustinov and that Fabio Maldonado. Fighters you'd expect Hunter to be beating in decent fashion. And then I always fancied him against Kuzmin. I was never sold on Kuzmin from when I watched him against David Price. David Price was relatively in that fight. Obviously before he basically just jacked it on the stool and thought I've had enough here. But I'm sure it was after 4 or 5 rounds. I think he was stopped in the 5th. I'm sure I had it 2 apiece. Prior to that, so I always felt Hunter could do some damage, and you're right, I think he's a bit better than a gatekeeper, to be honest. I think that's doing him a bit of disservice. I'm not saying he could go out and win a world title, but obviously they're not easy things to win, but I think I'd say he's a bit better than that, and I would certainly take him to beat Carlos Takam, who I don't think is brilliant, to be honest. He's just tough. But I mean, Derek Chisora splattered him all over, which was a bit of a shock, to be honest. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Hunter against Povetkin or something like that. It's a relatively easy fight to make from a perspective they're both with Matchroom. Aside from that, I don't really. Maybe Eddie Hearn's got a lot of heavyweights now. If you go down the list, he's signed up a hell of a lot of them, particularly around this level. And now it's time, realistically, to start putting them in with each other. So I don't know if he had a deal with Kuzmin or he just, works with the promotional outfit. But he's got Filip Hrgovic now. There's a lot of talk about Hrgovic, that he's one of the, a future star and one of the main players. Is he ready for someone like Michael Hunter yet? As I just mentioned then, well, you've obviously got Parker and Chisora battling that out. Could he fight the winner of that? There's plenty of fights for him. I quite like him. He's not the biggest of heavyweights, by no means the smallest. It's going to be interesting to see. I certainly think he's going to be used as the opponent role, but I think he laps that up, and it's a good call by Andy, actually, that there's a bit of a story there to see the rematch with Usyk potentially at another weight. Usyk will be new into it. He's obviously got the first fight against that Tyrone Spong, who I suspect he'll come through with relative ease. So yeah, why not? I wouldn't be unhappy if Usyk Hunter got made for the fight after that. Certainly not.
Shout out to everybody on Twitter. John Swan's throwing a question in there. John, I'll ask it to Rapping Rob Kelly whenever he joins us shortly. Danny Lusinov got a win in the first round over Richard Hicks. Don't know what they're doing with Lusinov. Need to step him up maybe. It's only his 8th fight. He seems to be just treading water at the moment. Sure, Eddie has a plan. for him in the future. Heather Hardy as well, talking about treading water. She looked like she was punching in water against Amanda Serrano. I fancied Serrano to win that one, women's boxing expert that I am. But Hardy just kept on negating all of her height and reach advantages. Kept getting inside, didn't know how to hold, looked amateurish really for a girl in her 23rd fight.
You actually watched that?
Great fight, Andy. Yeah. I think Serrano could have got rid of her actually if it had been 10-3s. Get on it, man.
I didn't know she's some sort of kind of like female phenomenon, like boxing or MMA or whatever it is and stuff. Like she's like won multiple titles at so many weights or whatever and that. But so I keep saying to the wife and that, you know, it's just like there's just the depth of talent's just no there, and you get women like that who are just like dominant, you know. But like Shields will retire undefeated. I suspect maybe Breakus will be the same, unless she tries to go up and fight at middleweight. But I don't see it like.
Yeah, Amanda Serrano's signed to fight Taylor, says Take Ames. I remember seeing Serrano's sister, Cindy Serrano, fighting Katie Taylor in Boston when we were over for the James Tennyson fight, and she got a beating, a hellacious beating. Again, if it had been 10-3s, I think she would have got her out of there, but I'm not averse to women's boxing, not a massive fan. I think the quality's sometimes lacking, but there's a decent fight, and they're names that I know. I will watch it. I'd watched everything else, and I thought I was washing the dishes, might as well sit and watch that, but Heather Hardy was really poor, and Serrano got the job done pretty handily for my money. On to Devin Haney then. Gabe, you first of all. Very professional performance from Devin Haney, beating Zor Abdullayev. We called it last week, the hand speed advantage, the uppercuts, they were probably going to be too much for Abdullayev. I thought he'd hang around a little bit longer than he did. He's got an excellent jab, Haney, as well, which he works off all the time, and he dominated the fight before Abdullayev's corner rightly pulled him out due to a damaged cheekbone. They saw the damage was there, they pulled their man out at exactly the right time, and he could have got hurt because he landed a couple of left hands on Haney, but ultimately he looked like a man who was completely out of his depth. What did you think of the fight, Gabe? Haney against Abdullayev, if indeed you saw it, and where would you like to see Devin Haney go next?
Well, I think your assessment was spot on. I mean, he used his jab well. He was able to really do as he pleased, and he looked sharp. Now, granted, his opponent was not of the quality that you would expect a guy in Haney's current position to be fighting. I would expect him to fight somebody a little bit more well-rounded, but he didn't do that. We got what we got. He did what he was supposed to do. It's hard for me to heap a whole lot of praise onto the kid for what he did. I mean, he did what he had to do. He did what he was supposed to do. That being said, though, I'm not knocking him at the same time. It was impressive. He looked sharp. Where does he go from here? I think, we discussed it last week a little bit. I really feel like he needs to step up just a little bit more before he goes guns blazing into a title fight. I would expect, since I believe he's signed with Matchroom now, that he'll be kind of brought along with whatever Eddie sees fit at the moment. I don't expect him to throw him too deep of water just yet. I certainly don't expect him to be in with complete bums. I'm thinking he'll probably bring him along a little bit more along the lines of some guys with decent looking records, but kind of unknown fellas that, aren't really there to provide anything more than just a payday and some exposure. My hopes for the kid aren't supremely high as of this moment, not because of his talent, but just because of the fact that I think Matchroom and fucking Eddie Hearn are going to dick around with him a little bit before they put him in, and then we'll see how he does getting thrown into deep waters. But, for now, I mean, it's just a solid fighter. He absolutely is a solid fighter. I thought the whole card overall was, not that much fun to watch. I mean, it wasn't like a terrible card. I've seen worse before, but it didn't provide a whole lot of high-level value for me. I'd like to see the kid step up a little bit more and not have showcase fights as a headliner if he's going to be fighting that kind of rubbish.
Yeah, liking the look of Haney, fast, aggressive, punches well, seems to draw a crowd as well, Aussie. Forget the Floyd Mayweather comparisons, he doesn't need that. Floyd was a once-in-a-generation talent. Prospects come and go. For every Floyd we see a Ricardo Williams, Panchito Bajado, Remember Bernard Superfly Mays? These guys come and go. You have to just give them time to mature without throwing this bullshit onto their back and weighing them down. That said, Ozzy Haney, he's only 20, he's doing all the right things. Seems to have his own promotional entity as well. Having Eddie behind him and DAZN isn't going to hurt one bit. And he's making that transition now. I would argue he's made it very much from prospect into contender status.
Oh yeah, he's certainly not a prospect anymore. Somebody of his calibre, I know he's young and things like that, but he's better than prospect status. I thought he was tremendous on Friday night. I thought he was vicious, and I think did he end up like breaking the eye socket of this Abdullah or something like that? So he can clearly bang. Lots to like about him. Comes across really well. No bullshit with him. People love a comparison, don't they? It's the thing to do in boxing. Oh, he's like whatever. He's like a young Floyd or something. And I agree. Just he doesn't need that at all. I mean, he is only young and he's only 20, but I think he can go as far as he wants. Clearly got his head switched on. I mean, it looks like it. I mean, there's talk that he's going to be on that undercard of that Cowboy YouTube. But he's fighting at the Staples Center in LA, so it's good that he's going to be active. I mean, if he's going to be out again in a couple of months and stuff like that, that's great. I mean, I'm just trying to look, and then I mean, he clearly fancies the Lomachenko fight. So, will Lomachenko stay at lightweight? Is he going to go back down? It's going to be interesting. So, I don't know. Who, I mean, I have no idea who they're going to put him in with next. I think they're going to have to pay up some cash because I don't think people will be queuing up to certainly look to fight Devin Haney. There's a lot to like about him. Talented lad, and certainly he's made that transition from prospect to contender with ease. And like I said, I think he's going to cause a lot of problems for the top guys up at lightweight.
Final one. I'll not bother Dave with this, Andy. Haney, there was an interesting comment I saw floating around the interwebs earlier. Someone compared Haney to a young Zab Judah. He's not a southpaw, obviously, but it was a nice reference nonetheless. What do you think about that? I mean, Zab he had his flaws, didn't he? But he was a hell of a fighter, talent-wise.
Yeah, he was a really good fighter. Sorry, I was just got interrupted there. Yeah, he was a really good fighter. But I was just, did I read that properly that he now becomes mandatory challenger to Lomachenko? Is that right?
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, I thought that was the case. Because that was for this was for one the interim WBC title. Yeah. I mean, it's funny that the interim title exists when the full version of the title was fought for 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I was just going to say because Eddie's prophecy of like Mayweather potential better come to fruition pretty soon, by the way, because that's going to be one fight or one belt, can we say, that might get vacated in another route. I mean, maybe the lad going to push for that fight, but as I say, man, at this point in his career, does he need a belt at this point? No, he doesn't. What is it, 2021? Let him develop, right? Because again, I've said it before, you belt him up at the minute, he becomes a target, and then he's going to wash out at some point, and then becomes like an afterthought. Let him develop first, and then just maybe about 3 years or something like that, then he's maybe ready for a title fight. Just steady, easy at the minute.
You like what you've seen so far, though, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. He's a talented kid and stuff like that. But let's be honest, that opponent he was fighting was absolutely awful. We just need to see him in kind of decent opposition. We need to see him. I want to see some resistance. That's what I want to see off him. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's what I've been saying about Haney. I'm not going to bother finding out who he is until he fights an opponent whose name I recognize.
I mean, I take it Lopez against Commey's pretty much done deal in that. So that's that fight right out of the water. I mean, you've got Javier Fortuny. Yeah, but Fortuny's seen better days. A vet possibly. Yeah, it might be a decent enough opposition for him. Ivan Mendy might be a decent fight as well for him.
I think he'd smash Mendy to bits.
Well, let's see it. I mean, Mendy's what, early 30s?
Smash Mendy to bits.
Abdullah was made to order, Andy. He just stood in front of him. Sorry, Oz.
Yeah.
Look, he was ranked 2 in the rankings of the WBC, that Abdullayev. So I mean, it was 1 against 2. mean, by that, he should technically be mandatory for the full version. I mean, I'm just looking at the rankings now, actually. You've got Gervonta Davis is at 3 with the WBC. You've got Luke Campbell at 4. Fortuna at 5. Ivan Mendy at 6. That Francisco Patera. Now, I think he's the European champion who beat Lewis Ritson. I think Haney would batter him. Linares, Ryan Garcia, Edis Tatley, Lee Selby's in there as well. So I know there's a few fights in there that I'd certainly, like give him the experience for then, so he is ready for, like the top test at lightweight. But I wouldn't necessarily agree with what you said, Andy, and wait 3 years. I think if he comes through 2 tests from, like say if he destroys Mendy and then somebody of a similar standard, I think he's then good to go for a world title, to be honest. I don't think just because he's young, I wouldn't just hold him back. If he's shown that he can compete and beat these gatekeeper type of guys convincingly, then I'd say let him off the leash and go for a world title.
That being the case, then there'd be no reason as to why we can't see like some of the Luke Campbell fight before he goes for a world title fight next to whatever and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, completely agree with that. Yeah, I completely agree. I wouldn't shoot on Haney if he does box for a world title in his next fight. Not at all. I applaud anybody who wants to, go for greatness and make that step up. But 100%, there's enough lightweights knocking around, particularly like a decent standard that Haney can be boxing. And for me, like you said, he's back out in 2 months' time. It will be interesting to see that type of opponent next. You would are they just going to play the waiting game? I know Eddie likes to do that, to try and wait, potentially look, Lomachenko's going to talk about vacating this title to drop back down. Well, is he just going to sit there and wait for it? Or is he going to, look to step him up again and then get one of these like a Mendy or potentially a Luke Campbell or something like that in the near future?
Clearly that Abdulayev was clearly a victim of some favourable ranking position and stuff like that, surely.
Like won an Intercontinental or something. Yeah. They decided to serve him up, I think, the management team.
Aye. There's going to be some sort of silver.
He won. So back in April last year, he won the vacant silver lightweight title against Denier Berrio or Dina Berrio, something from
Title watch,
Colombia. Colombia, never heard of him. And then he defended it against Henry Lundy and then Humberto Martinez.
Oh, Hank Lundy, Jesus Christ, he's still fighting.
Went the distance with him, Andy.
Yeah.
I watched that fight.
Hell.
Yep, there you go. Rapping Rob Kelly's on the call with us. Welcome to you, Rob. Hater Dave Loback said he's not going to get interested in Devin Haney until he fights a name that he's heard of. Obviously giving no respect to 25-0 Zolisani Undongani, like he's nothing more than a Scrabble piece.
It's not showing a lot of respect there to Undongani. Everyone knows he's a fucking high-ranking 135er. Devin Haney, the problem with Devin Haney is that he's been on his own for a while before signing with Eddie Hearn. So even the guys on his record that he's been knocking over as stiffs, we don't even know what kind of quality, how he's been, the match made up until this point. I said last week, I think he's 4 or 5 fights away from mixing at the top at 135, and this interim title is obviously a play from Hearn now, knowing that Lomachenko is going to go down after he beats the winner from Teofimo Lopez or Richard Comey. He's not going to hang around at 35. He's after making that clear. So Eddie probably sees an opportunity. The Floyd Mayweather comparisons, ridiculous at this stage. I mean, Haney gets tagged way too much to be even compared to Mayweather when he was at 35. He's good. He's good. He's a solid fighter. He's got the attributes. He's got a bit of something about him to show that I think he's going to be good enough in the future. But right now, I don't think he's a world level operator. He hasn't. We don't know if he's a world level operator because we haven't seen him fight anyone at world level. So the jury's still out on Haney for me.
Well, what about Fury then? Is the jury still out on him, Rob? We've had a question coming from John Swan, which I kept for you. He said,
Tyson
do you
Jory.
think that Do you think WBC Morrow might have ruled a no contest via replay if the fight had been stopped due to the cut after Wallin raked at Fury's eye on the break? Do you think that Morrow might have jumped into the ring after that raking and said, "I demand to see a replay, Rob"?
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I think if the fight if the cut had been caused by a headbutt, that fight wouldn't have gone 12 rounds. Look, Wallin proved that he was more than we thought he was. He definitely showed that he didn't come to lie down. So you got to give Wallin a lot of credit for not coming to lie down and not just becoming to be part of the spectacle. He obviously wanted his lineal heavyweight title, and he came to fight. Like, did he do anything in the fight apart from the cut? No, probably not. Like, he maybe won 2 rounds, 3 rounds, but it's hard to criticize Fury when he got. But look, fuck it, I'm going to criticize him. I think a factor. The only I was thinking about this yesterday, so I was giving a prediction the week before, and then I have a good think about it on the day. And I was talking about it with a mate of mine yesterday. He's into boxing, and he was saying, "Will he stay up for it?" And I was like, "Look, the only way that Wallin causes Fury problems, I think, is if Fury's after overtraining, because they were saying he was the lightest ever yesterday since he's been since the Klitschko fight. He was 18 stone 2 or something. He's had 5 training camps in 15 months, and then before that he had about a year where he was getting off the 10 stone, or 6 months while he was getting off the 10 stone. So there is the possibility that he was overtrained a little bit last night and that there wasn't as much movement there. But I don't know. I think, like I said last week, this was an awful fight because if he didn't look brilliant in it, it's not building the anticipation for Fury 2 or for Wilder 2. And I think that's kind of after happening. I don't think the Yanks were that convinced with Fury last night. A lot of people now are tipping Andy Ruiz to beat him and Wilder to knock him out. So boxing fans are fickle. They can read a lot into one result. I still think Fury fights down to the level of his opponent. I think, we've only really... Everybody talks about him being this master boxer, but we've only ever seen him put in like 2 perfect performances. So one against Vlad, one almost against Wilder, but still, getting up. I thought he won the fight without the controversial result from the judges. But other than that, in any fight he's been in, he has a tendency to switch off. He has a tendency to clown. What I liked about him last night is that he dug in a little bit. He realised there was points of the fight that the fight could have been stopped, and he was a bit more aggressive. His feet looked a little bit cement in the second half of the fight last night, I thought. And something I mentioned on the pod before as well, and it's a distinct possibility. He got a massive concussion that night in the fight against Wilder. Regardless of him beating the count, he was actually unconscious for a couple of seconds, and he took a 3-punch combination, if you like, because he took a left hook and a right hand and a left hook on the way down, and then he hit his head off the canvas. And there's a possibility that Fury's after staying hit from the Wilder fight. And I thought just in the last round when Fury landed, or Wallin landed a left hook, and Fury's legs went a little bit stiff and he had to tie up. And I never saw a guy like that trouble him before. Like, I know Steve Cunningham knocked him down, a kind of a flash knockdown with his jaws hanging up in the air and he's clowning around, but I've never seen him like when he switched on, apart from Wilder, be in trouble in a fight. And I thought he was in a bit of trouble there last night with that punch. So maybe Wallin punches harder than I've given him credit for, but I'm just wondering, is there the possibility that he has stayed hit, and is that giving Wilder more impetus going into the second fight, that he feels he could catch him? Because he definitely got tagged more than I've seen him getting tagged regularly last night. Having said that, he won the fight out of counter. He probably pissed it, and if it wasn't for the cut, we wouldn't even be talking about it. You know what I mean? But you give him a bit of credit for being a bit of a dog, Fury. He'll never give up anyway. And he'll go ahead and he'll surely dig in. But it was a nasty, nasty cut. And I thought Wallin and Gamache had the perfect game plan after that. They spoke to Gamache in between rounds, ESPN. I don't know if anyone saw that. And they said, what's he got to do here to win the fight? And so he was just like, keep hitting him on that cut. He has to keep hitting him on the cut. And he's shouting in the ring, hit him on the cut, Otto. Hit that cut.
But Rob, was that to the detriment of his body work, which I thought was working well?
Maybe, but they probably thought like Fury was doing some body work of his own there as well. If they're going to get into that, trade off to the body, maybe you take it out of Otto as well. Like, and they had they got a golden opportunity earlier in the fight to pull off the upset. Throw the kitchen sink at it. Why not? But I don't think tactically he was good enough to beat Fury anyway. I think if he had made an adjustment to the body, Fury would have made another adjustment and still won. But Wallen's stock has gone up. He'll probably get himself another fight. You wouldn't be mad against seeing him over in the UK against any of the top heavyweights now after that. I don't think he's a world beater or anything. Just think he's a well, I mean, I don't think, like I said, I don't think he's a world beater, but he's a tough yoke. Like, he's a big unit. He doesn't bring anything that exciting to the table, but he's a durable guy, and he'll be in a fight with everyone. I thought it was interesting that he's been working with a sports psychologist, Steve Collins, in the build-up, so that's probably a big factor to why he wasn't overall. They've been working on him in depth for months and months about visualizing the win. This kind of sports psychologist or sports hypnotherapist or whatever the fuck, they were doing something like that with him, like trying to get him right psychologically for the fight. So they came to win. They came in, they gave it a shot. Like, so not mad at Wallen at all. Definitely was more impressed by him. And when we're looking forward to it, last week we said if Wallen would give him something different to look at, give him a bit of a test, we'd all be happy. But it's not really setting the casuals alight for Wilder Fury 2, is it?
No, not really. Go ahead, Ozzy. Or is it Andy? Someone's looking in there.
Sorry,
Maybe nobody's looking in.
I have nothing to say.
That's okay, no problem. I have a second part of John Swan's question very quickly for you, Rob, actually. He said, Eddie Hearn must have lost his shit when they played Sweet Caroline between rounds after round 2. But, Rob, as an aficionado of the Brian Peters hunky-dory fight scene, you'll know as well as I do,
yep.
Eddie didn't come up with the Sweet Caroline himself.
Stole it. Yep, that's a Dublin classic, and then instead of the part, actually, Dubliners have their own version of it. That would have been playing heavy in Dublin City last night, actually, as the Dublin won their 5th All Ireland in Gaelic football, the first team ever to win 5 in a row. But yeah, the Dubliners were in the part where it goes instead of I think the British fight fans go so good, but the Dubliners go, I don't believe you, you're making it up. For what reason I don't fucking know, but. Yeah, I'd be happy enough now if Sweet Caroline was retired at all fights, to be honest with you.
There you go. Get rid of Sweet Caroline, says Rob. Andy, we tried to get a link to this on Friday night, talking about it off air, Friday the 13th. A nightmare for Conrado Tanamor over in Dubai. Mohamed Wazim got the win over him first round. Former friend of the show, Rohan Date, as well, got a first round win. Sounded like it was tough opponents all round over there. Andrew Selby got back with a first round win, you might know, against Warawachi Boonjan. Maybe it's best if we didn't get one for that, Andy. It might have been a bit of a waste of our lives.
Yeah, well, as I say, I was looking forward to watch my dude Abbas Baroa, German super welterweight, but I'd been out working and I come back late, and I actually messaged Serling and they said, IFL showing it, so I'll come back. Gets YouTube on, where's the fucking fight? There's no link of it. I was like, where the fuck? And then I found it, and I said, clicks on it, it's copyright blocked in your country. I'm like, what? So I'm on the VPN trying to get it working and stuff like that. Nothing. So I decided to go and pull up the box rec results and stuff like that. And as you say, mate, I think we can safely move on. It's fucking terrible.
Yes, I don't think we'll spend too much time talking about that. I'm coming to you, Gabe, very shortly on Ryan Garcia. Before we do so, Ozzy, a fight I plugged last week and said I was looking forward to it, completely forgot about it. S4C over in Wales, friend of the show, Angelo Dragone, unfortunately was unable to win the Welsh super featherweight title against Christian Toos. Am I misquoting you, Ozzy, saying you felt Angelo might have done enough in this one?
Yeah, I felt he was on the wrong end of a refereeing decision, to be honest, and likewise Jake Anthony as well. In what was it was a great show. This it looked a brilliant atmosphere. I was going to go down, but I needed to be back early on Saturday morning, so a 3.5 hour hike down to South Wales to literally turn back round after an evening's boxing. I just couldn't be arsed, basically. But no, a good show, and I felt that both Dragone and Anthony did enough to win. And it's a bit of a bugbear of mine now that we're particularly in title fights. I don't agree that referees score the contest. I think judges should be brought in to do that and leave the referee to referee the fight. It's one opinion there rather than 3. And also, I think we quite a lot of times we see some quite dodgy scores from like referees who score a 10 rounder and things like that. I mean, you see dodgy scores at 4 and 6 rounders when some like young prospect who sells a load of tickets gets battered off like a Bulgarian journeyman.
Yeah.
But the Bulgarian, you do, don't you? And you think, well, this could be a draw, this could be an away win. But it's like a 40-36 to the home fighter. But nothing gets said because the Bulgarians are happy because they didn't get stopped and they can fight next week. And then if they win, the phone stops ringing because they're knocking about a load of these prospects and they think, well, we don't want to use you anymore. But when it's a stage like that, from where it's like essentially like an area title fight, for me, judges should be brought in, particularly on this instance where I've not seen anybody who said Tuesday deserved to win the fight. Likewise with Jones as well, who was dropped, I think, in the third. Great shot to like top of the temple. But no, good show. Sanigas do a decent job on the small hole scene. They put together some good fights, and I don't think I'd be wrong in saying that. I think Tuesday and Dragoni and Jones against Anthony will be two fights that I think everybody at the arena in Swansea would want to see again, as well as a hell of a lot of people who watched it on the telly as well.
Coming back to Aussie shortly on this BT Sport card from last night in the York Hall. Before we do that, Gabe, Carson, California was supposed to see Ryan Garcia fighting against Avery Sparrow. We made a bit of a joke last week. Rob said he was like a character out of The Wire. Well, he was trying to live up to that indeed by getting chased by the law enforcement. He pulled a firearm out on a girl apparently and they were running after him and managed to get hold of him. Garcia wanted a different opponent. He wanted to fight Ivan Delgado apparently, who was fighting Romero Duno. So Golden Boy turned around and said, no, you can fight Juno. Then Garcia's team said, no, we don't want to fight him. Back and forwards, going on. Garcia's team aren't happy with Oscar. I think that Ryan Garcia was already disappointed by his level of pay, said Oscar was ripping him off in not so many words, wasn't paying him enough, Gabe. So I think he's going to be leaving Golden Boy Promotions very shortly, if truth be told. Maybe he'll fight Romero Duno, who knocked out Delgado, before he does. If not, he's definitely a guy who shifts tickets, and he probably has more value and currency to his name than Golden Boy are paying on him. What about the Sparrow situation? What about the Ryan Garcia situation? Do you even care about all this, Gabe?
I could not give a fuck about Sparrow. Seems like an utter waste of air. And as far as Ryan Garcia goes, I'm really just going to be thrilled whenever the kid starts to fuck out. He acts like a little bitch. You know? I mean, it's completely absurd the way that he behaves on a day-to-day basis.
I think Gabe's just killing a cat there. Got to have something for dinner, I suppose. What's going on, Gabe? Has a rattlesnake got in? Go on, Rob.
I wonder on Avery Sparrow pulling the gun on the girl. I mean, everyone knows that that's a bad thing to do, but you can't hit him. So, you know, maybe he had a point to make or something. I wouldn't be too harsh to judge Avery Sparrow just yet.
What about Avery Sparrow and Maurice Hooker? Could you see them on the road together? What a team that would be.
And my man Curtis I'd as well, get him in the mix. But yeah, Ryan Garcia, I saw somebody tweet yesterday about Ryan Garcia that I can't wait to go to the Garcia fight tonight because all the Latinas are going to be out in force to support him. So I might be changing my mind on Garcia. I could be wanting to go see him myself if this keeps up. But I think you're right. Like these days with Oscar are numbered, aren't they?
Exactly. This is the thing, Gabe. As you come in, we'll bring you back on this one. We were watching For Punches from the Past, as you know, recently. Oscar De La Hoya against Pernell Whitaker. We're watching, Pernell Whitaker against Hugo Cesar Chavez. But I went afterwards and watched Pernell Whitaker against Oscar. And the point is, Gabe, I'll get to it eventually. Every time De La Hoya landed a shot, there was these massive screams in the crowd. All these women screaming. That was the demographic Oscar was bringing to the party. Ryan Garcia is also bringing this demographic as well. So there's money to be made.
That was his
There's no fucking money on tickets. I mean, listen, if you go by any other standard of any other fucking form of entertainment that exists, whether it's music or art exhibits or any other fucking thing, the money doesn't come from tickets. You can't tell me that the kid selling tickets is reason enough to give him $4 million for fighting a fucking tomato can. You know, giving him $1 million for fighting a fucking tomato can. He's getting paid appropriately. Nobody else fucking at that level that he's fighting at that does as little as he does gets fucking paid that much money. So I don't know what the fuck everybody is looking at. Oh, well, he's got 100 Twitter followers or whatever the fuck it is. I don't give a shit. That doesn't mean shit because somebody following you on Twitter doesn't subscribe to someone paying for a fucking subscription to the Zone. It doesn't pay for somebody, buying merchandise. It doesn't pay for any of those things. So all the fucking people that keep carrying on about Twitter this and Instagram that, I could give a fuck less, and it makes no sense. The argument is fucking null and invalid as to, he's got all these followers and all these people. And as far as tickets go, what are you talking about? Tickets, how many tickets do you have to sell to even put on the fucking show to start with? Because you're going to have to pay not only him as the A-side fighter, presumably, you're going to have to pay his opponent. Where does the fucking money come from for the regional strap or whatever it is they're fucking fighting for? How about the judges? How about the referees? You know they got to pay people to put the fucking ring together and set up the lights and all that other shit. I mean, they're carrying on about all this goddamn money like there's a shit ton of it there. Obviously, De La Hoya is making money or he wouldn't be in the fucking business, right? I mean, we all understand that. But it's just like anything else. If you're not bringing in $5 million, you can't fucking pay out $5 million for it. So look at the level of competition he's facing, too. Who the fuck is he fighting? Nobody. So there's absolutely no reason why this kid is going around crowing about how much he's getting paid this or that. Nobody at that level is getting paid that amount of money that he's asking for. So best case scenario, he goes into his next fight and gets fucking retired, and we don't have to see or hear him anymore, acting like a little bitch. Because that's what he sounds like. He sounds like, I don't know if you guys follow the he sounds like Antonio Brown crying like a little bitch.
Oh, see the start of that when he says bitch by him, it's proper fucking hatred there, bitch.
Problem is though, right? He's a social media star, as they say. But like now you've got social media stars fighting each other, making the same, if not more, than the fighters. So he's probably got a lot of people in his ear telling him how much he's worth as well. You know what I mean? See his Instagram famous.
If Oscar keeps telling him he's a star and he's bringing all these women in and he's only paying him $50,000 and he says, well, I'm making the money and I'm bringing in the views and the people, then why aren't I getting paid more? But I don't know. I'm not completely against Garcia as many people. I think he's okay, Gabe. He has skill.
That's the reality, Stephen. Nobody's paying to see him. Whenever I watch a card on the Zone, it's never because he's on it. And if I do watch it, it's only to see, hopefully, him get knocked the fuck out.
Gabe has spoken, everybody. Not appealed by his attractive physique, Gabe? His boy next door looks?
No, I'm not appealed by his cuntiness. He's a fucking cunt.
You don't like his waxed eyebrows, Gabe?
What's that?
I said you don't like his waxed eyebrows?
Oh, I've never really paid that much attention to him, but give it a look next time he's on.
Talking of glorious looking
he has the
fellas,
same type
Rob.
of eyebrows as an Instagram influencer Ryan Garcia has.
You would know. Talking of Instagram influencers, friend of the pod,
So you're
Joe
telling
Kennedy.
me if I can get my eyebrows waxed, I can get some extra followers and maybe some more people subscribing to the Patreon?
Yeah.
No, on our Patreon,
Nice tan.
not likely.
All right, goddammit, get ready for it. I'm going to go, hey, here, get the wax.
Right, hey to Dave Lowback, speaking of patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. Joe Kennedy was in touch regarding Ryan Garcia. This was before the fight was called off. He said Oscar De La Hoya, Gabe, apparently wants to make Ryan Garcia versus Jorge Linares. If Garcia looks good this weekend, he looked good to me, out of the ring, maybe not so much in the ring, because he wasn't fighting. How do you, Dave, see that fight going? Should it happen? Jorge Linares brought back as fodder for Ryan Garcia. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, probably. That would be smart matchmaking on the part of GBP. I'm assuming GBP still owns him by then. Yeah, I agree with Gabe's assessment of that dude. He's irritating. I had no feelings about him before, but now that he's like crying about his paycheck, I don't like him. You know, he should be grateful, honestly, to GBP for building him the way they have. Like, most young guys do not have the following he does, and that following doesn't just come out of nowhere. You know, what does he think? It's just his beautiful face or something? I mean, he's not that impressive in the ring. I've never seen anything particularly special. But yeah, matchmaking wise, Linares I think would be a smart fight. providing he can land those shots in the early going and get him out of there.
Andy, I'm not going to burden you with Ryan Garcia. Before we move on, let's go on to Jaime Munguia, who's become a bit of a burden himself. 4th round knockout. He's had well over 30 fights. He doesn't seem to be improving to me. This guy that they dug up, Patrick Alotte, he fought against Munguia exactly the way he fought against Teixeira. He stands in the middle of the ring, throws a couple of shots. As soon as he gets backed up against the ropes, he just takes a knee. I mean, this guy, he should never be allowed to fight in the prison canteen again, Andy, after that performance. Disgusted.
Was he even ranked?
Yeah, he was WBO 13 or something like that, I think.
Yeah,
I think he had like two or three losses.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, he had a kind of one of those lie records, 40-3 or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah. See, to be honest, I'd love to see Munguia. I'd love to see Munguia in with Brian Castellano next. Actually, to be honest, really skilled fighter. Will make it a close fight. Munguia last night, surgical to the body, left hook again. But I think Castellano might give him a few problems. I think he's a southpaw as well. So, to be honest, I think there was talk about Munguia vacating the belt and moving them up in weight and stuff. But as I've said to you before, Stephen, I think his management have really wrung the life out of him in the past. That they've maybe just decided to kind of take it back a notch. Because there's no something like 4 or 5 defences in one calendar year or something like that. It was something crazy, unheard of.
Fought Liam Smith, didn't he? Fought who else did he fight? He fought Hogan, who I thought beat him. Didn't he fight Brandon Cook, who was going to fight Kell Brook?
Ali. Yeah. Saddam Ali as well. Did they know as well? Eh.
But
as I say, I think they maybe just took it back a notch because obviously when you see he's fighting 5-6 times a year, there's 5-6 training camps, making weight. He is a big kid. Only going to grow as 21, 22, and that he's only going to grow. He's only going to get bigger than that. But so you want to maintain him a little bit. Again, the belt, he's not a name, so he's not got much to sell. But for him, the belt is everything. So maintain the weight, keep him at 154 for the next bit or whatever it's going to be. Might even maybe try and pursue a rematch with Julian. Not a rematch, a unification with Julian Williams. I mean, there's a. Jared Hurdman up in weight. I'm disappointed in him actually kind of vacating the weight. All of a sudden, when Williams is calling for VADA tests and stuff like that, Hurd decides that he's going to go up in weight. Disappointment with that. But Munguia, as I say, he is a decent fighter. But the second he goes up to 160 and stuff, he's going to get iced. So
yes, he will. Thank you, Eddie.
But no mean to say he's not going to be involved. He's going to be involved in decent fights and stuff at 154. For how long he's going to maintain his championship status and stuff, again, depends on the matchmaking.
Yeah, the Hurd situation was quite remarkable, saying he's starting camps at like 180. That guy was just absolutely huge. I mean, he shouldn't have been fighting.
I've got a picture. I've got a picture of Jarrett Hurd standing next to Kelly Pavlik. Now, we all know Kelly Pavlik was a beast at 160 back in his prime, right? He fucking Hurd dwarfs fucking Pavlik, man. And this is Pavlik who must be weighing almost 2 bills at that time, man. Fucking huge.
Pavlik was talking about coming back at cruiserweight.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that'll tell you.
No.
You know what I mean?
Here we go.
Don't want to see him back again. MB says Munguia missed weight at first. He had to strip. He won't be at 154 for much longer. Andy makes a good point about Castaño. I said it before. I enjoyed Castaño against Erislandy Lara. I thought it was a real high profile, a real high octane chess match between two skilled guys bringing different tactics to the table, and I would have liked to have seen the rematch. Castaño has just fallen off the radar at the moment. He had some form of WBA title. There's not enough WBA titles to go around. I don't think they should create a few more to try and make everybody a champion. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Met you the champion, the pod champion, WBA Aussie over in the York Hall. Pick what you want about this card. Zach Chelly losing a unanimous decision to Cody Davis. It was a pretty close one. I thought Chelly was going to be one of these grinders who would keep winning and not looking good, but Cody Davis I wasn't really that impressed with Davis either. I thought he had the fitness, the strength, did what he needed to do, and once Chelly started to lose his ambition and constantly go against the ropes. Davis took over. Dex Spellman, friend of the pod, lost to Pitters, Shakan Pitters, very tall for the weight, looked like he could be one to watch. Brad Foster against Lucian Reid, typical Frank card, got to 11 o'clock at night, and I thought, right, here we go, I better turn the laptop off, and I saw Lucian Reid training in his, getting ready in his dressing room, forgot the fight was even on, but I managed to watch it, and don't agree with Carl Frampton's assessment, saying that the skill level was through the roof. I thought it was quite a messy affair, cuts and whatnot. Also on that card, there was another thing I was going to mention. Oh yeah, Sonny Edwards. I like Sonny Edwards' style. I think he'll be very effective against the right type of opponent. Unfortunately, the way he fights doesn't enthuse me against guys like Guanaros. He's sort of going through the motions. I like to see him step up a level eventually. I'm not shitting on the matchmaking. I think they're doing the right thing with him, getting him experience, bringing him gradually down in weight. But his style will come to the fore, Aussie. When he fights someone decent, I think he'll be very effective at a higher level. But the likes of Guanaros, they're not on Sonny Edwards' level. Pick what you want. Aussie, sorry.
Oswald.
Aussie.
Yes.
Ollie.
Don't fucking call me that.
I knew it.
I'll start from the top. Sonny Edwards, I like him. I think there's a lot to like about him, and skills are excellent. He was levels above Guanaros yesterday. It was his first fight at flyweight, which I think is where we're going to see him campaign. I agree. I think the better the opponent, you will see the better Sonny Edwards. I would like to see him fight the winner next of Jay Harris against Paddy Barnes. Yeah. I think he beats them both anyway, but I think that's a decent step up. I mean, we keep seeing that Tommy Frank keeps coming out in like the boxing press and saying that he wants to fight Sonny Edwards next. Yet he's no interest in making the fight for a vacant British title, so that is what it is. And I agree with that. I think the better the opponent, Edwards will definitely step up, and I think he has a great chance of winning a world title, to be honest. It's just a shame there's not a European title, I think. It's a flyweight, a super fly actually, so I think there is a European flyweight title. Coming down, I thought Lucian Reid deserved the win against Brad Foster. I thought Foster was a rightful favourite, but Reid showed the goods. There's been a lot of talk about him. I think he's got a pretty decent amateur record, but he's been slow. It's took a long time for him to get to this level. Very inactive. I think he was with Matchroom at one point, and
he
didn't get the fights.
He transitioned. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and I think he had. I don't know if he had some personal problems which kept him out the ring, or he struggled with injury. But it was a good fight. Good fight. Should see the rematch, to be honest. And Reid can certainly feel hard done by. Spellman Pitters, I thought the cards were a touch wide, to be honest. I thought there was a point, maybe 2 points in it max. I actually felt Spellman had a decent chance in terms of like he can really punch at the weight. And I know Pitters beat him last time, but that was obviously like the 3-round Ultimate Boxer, and 10 rounds is completely different. But Pitters looked decent. I mean, he is a freak at the weight, an absolute freak. He's huge, and how he makes light heavy, I do not know. It's absolutely unbelievable. Chelly Davis, I agree with the winner on that. I thought Cody Davis responded well from getting knocked down in the second round. Was more, I'm not saying it was a flash knockdown, but I don't think he was really hurt. Chelly resulted into a bit of spoiling tactics towards the end, to be honest, which was a bit disappointing, constantly holding, etc., things like that. And then there was a lot of prospects out as well, like Harvey Horn, James Branch, who we've had on the pod as well. I think there was an Irish guy on the card, actually, Steve.
Keevan Hines.
Yes, yeah. And then I think there was a couple of others as well. So, all in all, a decent night's boxing at York Hall. I think for a Saturday night card, it was pretty solid, to be honest. I just hope they can get Sonny Edwards the opponents, and it's a shame domestically people don't want to fight him, particularly when there's decent belts on the line as well. I mean, look, some fighters can't even get an English or a British title shot, then you've got people being offered it and they've no interest whatsoever, so that's a shame from that perspective. But no, all in all, a decent night's boxing.
Yeah, Jason Chukwu in the chat says Zach Chelly got robbed. He had it 96-93. I don't agree with that. I don't think it was robbery, and I don't think Chelly won by 3 points either, Jason. If I'm being honest with you, Ozzy mentioned Tommy Frank there. He's fighting in the Ponds Forge Arena, Sheffield. Big Russ territory, Dennis Hobson. Tommy Frank is in against the mighty Aran Dipian for the vacant WBC International Silver Super Flyweight title. Josh Whale as well in action there, as is Tyrone Nurse and a few other guys. Also over in Italy on Thursday night, Sam Eggington.
I think Smido's on that card, is he?
Yeah, Smido's jumped ship now, Rob. He's
on that
appearing
card,
in the
on the
videos.
Dennis Hobson card. He's on the card, he is.
Do you think he'll win?
Don't know, it's 50-50. Depends what kind of camp he's had.
Not at all, I'd say. Sam Eggington, yeah, going out in Italy next Thursday. Trying to pronounce this one. Orlando Fiordiglio. Plenty of giggles there. Sam Eggington getting an IBF International Super Welterweight shot. Boschiero as well. Dario Morello, we saw him last time, didn't we, on the last Italian card? He looked pretty crap. 15-0, going in against Luther Clay, someone who's been around the British scene for a while. So Matchroom Italy going on strong. What else have we got coming up? We may maybe go to a few questions, actually. Rob, you seem like you're all juiced up tonight. Let's get you in on the question from Damien Griffiths over on Twitter. He said, interesting point to bring up tonight, boys, if you get the chance. Let's get the chance to hit you with this one then, Rob. Do you think Ben Davison has done a great deal on improving Tyson Fury as a fighter? Certainly as a friend, he's helped him with his issues. But I think, says Damien, Fury has gone backwards boxing-wise. What are your thoughts, Rob?
I was thinking about this yesterday, and I think, he made the point that he already made the point that I was going to make. I think, from a personal point of view, his relationship with Davison seems to work better for him. Now, I don't know if that's got to do with Peter as an authoritarian figure, or is it that he has a regime that he sticks to his old school in his boxing. He doesn't like the wild side or whatever, and Davison lets him embrace that side or whatever, but keeps him focused, kind of physically fit. And Peter, I don't know if anyone had any influence over Tyson Fury. He's his own man, but every time under Peter, he blew up in weight in between fights, and then had a fight to make the weight first of all, and then go into camp. So I think the change has definitely done him good. But there's nothing to say that Peter Fury wouldn't have gone on to great things with him hadn't he gone off the rails after Vladimir. But regardless, we are where we are. I was very sceptical about Davison at the beginning. Didn't like that relationship. Didn't like Hatton in the corner. Don't like the clowning around. Like, from what I saw in the Pianetta fight in the Shafa Safiri or whatever, it just seemed like, I know he's fighting still to lose the weight at that stage, like, but it just seemed like just almost farcical. Both fights just seemed farcical, and I didn't see anything in Davison. But I thought he was very switched on. I know Freddie Roach was very openly critical of him after the Wilder fight, which I didn't really fully agree with. I thought, Ben Davison proved he was right, because Wilder did find him eventually, and nearly did put the lights out on him. So he was right to tell him to be conservative. And I think in speaking after the Wilder fight, he realised that Fury just held his legs for an extra second, a split second that allowed him to get caught. Just got sloppy for 1 second in the final round. He was just about to coast it, and he got caught. So he was right. He was right in his prediction. So he'd obviously expected that, and to expect that even in the last round, I think that shows he knows his stuff. So I wouldn't say he's gone backwards. He's gone older as well, and he's had 3 years out of the ring. So I mean, Fury's probably in his prime for a heavyweight, but there's miles on the clock there with him as well. So he'll be looking to cash out in his next 2 fights, I'd say, Fury. And to be honest with you, if he beats Wilder, I don't know if he'll keep fighting. I don't know. Maybe he'll go for the Joshua fight if that's there then, and there'll be two or three more big paydays. But I don't think you're going to see Fury out that much in future. But I couldn't say that he's disimproved under Davison. I don't think that'd be fair.
Plenty more Tyson Fury coming up later in Bellew of the Week. Ozzy's back, coming to you shortly. Also, hey to Dave, coming to you on a question regarding Devin Haney, Lomachenko and Gervonta Davis. So get chewing on that one. Andy, before we do all that, Brian G threw in a question which is right up your street. your top 3 Scottish fighters of all time and top 3 fights a Scottish fighter was involved in. Now, I was listening to the Boxing Life stories. You got me into that, actually. The Tris Dixon,
Yeah.
the interview with Colin Hart. Go and listen to that. The Colin Hart one was absolutely brilliant. I've been sort of vanilla on Hart. Didn't like him, didn't dislike him. His stories were fantastic. This is a guy who's been at so many of the big fights over the decades, 50 years. Anyway, the point I'm making is Hart spoke so highly, Andy, of Ken Buchanan, as did Mike Tyson, aficionado of the game, and Muhammad Ali as well. Apparently asked to meet Ken Buchanan. So obviously he's in and around that top area, if not the greatest fighter. Jim Watt, Jackie Patterson, don't know a great lot about him. Scott Harrison, maybe going full casual here on the Scottish fighters. Top 3 Scottish fighters of all time. Top 3 fights a Scottish fighter was involved in, Andy.
Top 3 fights that Scottish fighters have been involved in. Well, I'll go for the Battle of Bannockburn. I'll go for the Siege of Roxburgh Castle. And I'll go for the Battle of Roslin.
You're going to have to tell us who are in those fights then.
The English and the Irish and the Scots. Aye, so no, I bet I pissed it there, obviously. Who's eating crisps, by the way?
I don't know.
It's fucking
I
annoying.
can hear some rappers, like
It's got
Chocolate Eclairs or something.
He's got the
Oh
No,
my God,
it's not me.
man. Something
Not
more
guilty.
people more than me for like.
It's not
burgers
me.
and stuff.
I think it's Dave.
Someone would like their own doing
Anyway.
Chocolate Eclairs.
Aye.
Who is it? Come on, maybe they're having a bit of a toot.
Hey.
Go on, Andy.
So, well, most recent history, I suppose. Alex Arthur, Michael Gomez.
Brilliant fight.
John Simpson and Martin Lindsay. I think I was in Belfast. That was a week before
I was
Christmas
there.
time. I think it
Brilliant,
was. What? It was a good
No, it was in
atmosphere as
April.
well.
It was in. Oh, hang on a minute. Yes, sorry, you're quite right. It was John Simpson was a week before. I was thinking of Paul Appleby was in April.
Aye.
Sorry, you're right, Andy. Yeah.
I was going to say, Paul Appleby and Liam Walsh, one that was the first main event fight on Box Nation. Really good fight. I'll chuck in Willie Lemond against Khan because he almost had him, and
He did.
apparently I think he'd done his eardrum and it fucked off his equilibrium a wee bit, so that's why he couldn't get a balance or whatever. And that. I'm going to throw in Burns against Martinez. Simple fact is this: nobody gave Burns a chance. Martinez was a long-standing super featherweight #1 fighter, and Burns just came right out of the blue, and it was a great atmosphere. That night at Kelvin Hall, where more fights should happen actually, because it's a really good atmosphere in there. Going back in time, I'm trying to think actually off the top of my head as I was talking. Maybe Jim Watt against Charlie Nash. I was going to say Charlie Nash. I think both fighters were down in that fight. As you see, Howard Davis, so I think that's when they won the title. I think it was a defences title. Murray Sutherland,
Laguna.
no many. Duran against Buchanan. Go back to Murray Sutherland, who was a Scottish light heavyweight, against Sad Muhammad. Sad's never in dull fights.
My favourite fighter of all time.
Top 3 fighters of all time, Scottish. I'm going to have to put, well, I think the list is generally universal, so #1 would obviously be Benny Lynch. I think he's something like 40 odd fights or whatever it was in 3 years undefeated, and he ended the undefeated reign of Peter Kane, who was a long-standing bantamweight champion of ours. Probably throw in, obviously you've got to throw Ken Buchanan in there, definitely. Won his title on the road, defended it on the road, tried to regain it on the road. European champ, British champ, world champ. And came back down in levels after his world title stints and stuff and tried to regain it. Beat Jim Watt in a good fight at the National Sporting Club as well. Number 3, I don't know. I'll say again. There's fighters here I could mention who you've never heard of, like Ilke Clark,
Walter
Jim
McGowan.
Brady, Walter McGowan, who would be higher on the list if he wasn't for his the propensity for cutting. Steve, he was paper mache skin. Back in them days, as well, as if you got cut, say like the 7th round, and it was really really bad. Didn't matter if you were the leader or no. You got stopped in it was a TKO loss. It didn't go to the scorecards back then. So that really kind of really put his final standing back a wee bit actually as well. Ilke Clark says Chick Calderwood was a fucking madman. I'll probably throw Tansy Lee in there because he was world champ. No, sorry, he was the world champ. Sorry, he was British and flyweight and featherweight champion. Jackie Patterson was ex-world champ. He was British flyweight and bantamweight champ at the same time. This was at a time when there was only 8 divisions, guys. So that's a big achievement. Guys like Jim Brady, for example, he was British champ at. I think he fought at bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight and stuff. So it's not for me to decide where the rank. I'm only going off because I've been doing a bit of research recently and stuff like these guys are obviously popping up and stuff, but I'm probably missing stuff as well. I'm probably missing fighters. I'm probably missing fights and that as well. You know, I dare say there'll be other people who can fill in bits that I've missed. But you talk about guys, Scottish fighters who I love growing up. Guys like John Simpson. You know, guys like that, man. Road Warriors went everywhere, got hosed in the cards, kept coming, tough as nails. And I never forget the sparring session between him and Carl Frampton when Carlos was a 5-0 Celtic champion at the time. It was just warfare, man.
And shout out to Gary Cornish against Anthony Joshua, brave but defeated ultimately.
Gary Cornish.
Was Pat Barrett from Scotland?
Pat Barrett, you talking about
who? No, he was Manchester, wasn't he?
I was waiting to see, you talking about.
You mean Zelfa's uncle?
Aye.
Yeah, I thought he was from Scotland.
No, he's Manchester.
Scotland.
No.
Did he fight maybe Jacob then?
Gary Jacobs.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh, Gary Jacobs, yeah, he fought Pinnell. He was a good fighter, wasn't he? Southpaw, Andy?
Yeah, he was a good, solid, definitely European level. What was he now? Lightweight. I think he kind of. I don't know if he fluctuated between the weights and stuff, but Gary Jacobs was a hell of a fighter. So was like Jackie Brown and stuff like that, like Johnny Hill, Jackie Brown and stuff like that. People. You know,
Alexander, I thought was brilliant in his early. Alexander, I think, had the potential. Obviously, that you referred to that fight with him and Gomez, but I love Gomez. But I thought Alexander was brilliant early doors. Like I think he could have been something, but the situation with Roach was sketchy, wasn't it? Roach was training him, but he was
telephone training
to Scotland to be in his corner or something. Some shit like that. Kind of fucked him up.
You've got guys like Bert Kilroy and that, but as I say, like Chick Calderwood, he fought Jose Torres. He's even got a win over what do you call him? Dundee's old fighter. What do you call him? Come on, Robbie, help me out. Willie Pastrano, that's the one. And I think he even fought Eddie Cotton, next referee as well. So he died he died young in life as well. But I think he retired after he got beat off Jose Torres and stuff like that. But he was like, I don't know if he was European champ. He was definitely British and Commonwealth champ at light heavyweight. Could have achieved a lot more than that, but that was like mid-60s or something.
Arlene Burley mentioned Pat Clinton as well. He fought in the early 90s against Baby Jake Matlala, didn't he? Yeah.
Baby Jake. Baby Jake was like 4'9", guys. Honestly,
yeah, he was under 5 foot tall, wasn't he?
He was 4'9", and you should see him against these bigger guys, and he made his size work for him in that. Pat Clinton, he won the world title. I think he won light flyweight and flyweight WBO titles, or if it was minimum weight and light flyweight, I can't mind. And it was actually Tommy Gilmore who I think he was the first. I get this right. I think he was the first Scotsman, I think, to put on a world title fight in his home city. I need to go back and double check that, but I think I'm right in saying that.
Been some great nights. I remember Lee McAllister fighting for the European title. I think it might have been. Was it against Denis Shafikov? It was in Aberdeen, and the atmosphere looked amazing.
I've got it here, sorry. Tommy Gilmore, he was the first Scot in 46 years to promote a world title fight in Scotland. 18th of March 1992. Clinton against Perez.
There we go. Yeah, I like the rise of Alex Arthur. I think the thing about Alex Arthur as well was Jim Watt identified his flaws pretty early on, and they came home to roost against Michael Gomez. Just took too many shots, and he had the left hand too low. And Watt always used to bang on about Carl Froch holding the left hand too low as well. Yeah, he picked up on that, Andy, from a lot of Arthur's early fights, and like I said, it came to bite him against Gomez ultimately, which was a great fight.
Yeah, we covered that one of the punches of the past episode.
We did indeed. One of the punches from the past back in the first series. Right, Dave, if you're still with us, question for you from Simon Alavey, bringing it right back up to date. He says, ask the panel, particularly Dave, Who would win if Devon Haney, Gervonta Davis and Vasyl Lomachenko all fought each other? Simon says, I'm leaving Commey and Lopez out, as I believe they are the weakest of the 5. But if, Dave, you disagree, then so be it. Include them as well in a round robin if you want. So you've got Devon Haney, Gervonta Davis, Lomachenko, throw in Commey and Lopez if you want. Who would come out as the best of the bunch if they all got it on? Simon says, I think 20-year-old Haney, we could be seeing something very special with him. What do you think, Dave?
He's jumping the gun. Come on. Haney's in last place as of right now because he's got the worst resume out of all those guys. And that's what counts for me. The eye test is misleading. Devon Haney might beat Comey. But we'll have to see if he ever even fights anybody on Comey's level. As of now, Lomachenko beats all of them, I would say. Of course, Gervonta is the one I would say right now who comes closest to threatening him. But Lomachenko's fighting like at least solid opposition on a fairly regular basis, and he has the most top wins. Davis has one good win against Pedraza. So, screw him and his fat ass.
He looks the business though, doesn't he? The eye test.
Yeah, but I mean, it's one win, a good win, because Pedraza acquitted himself well against Lomachenko, but Lomachenko still won the fight convincingly. We've seen him in there with more styles. Like, how many styles has Gervonta Davis demonstrated himself against? Not too many, really. Not at a high level. Plus, he doesn't fight very often. Plus, he balloons between fights. He's very young. He rolls with thugs, allegedly. And I just don't think he's that smart.
Apart from that, he's all right.
Yeah, otherwise, he's an ATG.
He's a fucking banger.
I think he's a mess outside of the ring, but I think if he can keep his shit together, he has the potential to be brilliant. Although I was on the Adrian Broner hype train at one point, Dave, but he's fast, he's ferocious, he puts people away, he fights shit, but he gets rid of them. That's all you can ask.
He's gonna wind up fucked out, sucked out, looking for a handout.
So close, Dave.
I think he's a live dog for the first 4 rounds against Lomachenko.
No
A
match.
bit like Judo against Floyd. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's dangerous early, but I think Lomachenko schools him. Probably imagine he stopped him. That'd be great.
Would be interesting, wouldn't it? And Men's Luxury Fitness was in touch. We were talking about the
Never
altitude. No, it's not happening, says Rob. The altitude regarding AJ Ruiz. AJ has trained at the Altitude Centre in London for many, many years. It's not as good as being at altitude day and night, but it replicates it quite well for when you are doing cardio at least. He can't spar in it there. But important to note that he does do something in the altitude region, AJ, so maybe he'll have big lungs and he'll be pumped up for this Ruiz rematch, which is taking place in Saudi Arabia, isn't it? Early December. Looking forward to that one. Tyson Fury in heavyweight action last night. Deontay Wilder going in against Luis Ortiz some point in November. What else have we got on the agenda here? Ozzy, Chris Adams over on Patreon was asking you a question. Can you, Ozzy, shed any light on the Kell Brook situation? I've seen he's back in the Ingle gym after being with John Fuchs. Not sure if it's a permanent thing or just for fitness. Has he quietly retired? Does anyone have any interest in seeing him fight again, Ozzy?
From what I've been told, he's gone back to the Ingle gym. I think he basically tried it out, basically a change of scenery, and it didn't work out with John Fuchs. And just from reading up on things and looking into interviews and stuff like that, I haven't got anything, I've never been told anything concrete about Kell Brook, but I think he can only get, himself going for big fights now, not the likes of, was it Rabchenko and Zarafa, who he's fought the last couple of times. I think he wants to be, in the biggest of big fights. But in reality, I think Kell Brook is largely irrelevant now. No one is clambering to see him, and we've not seen much of him, like in terms of he's rarely mentioned by, like Eddie Hearn, for a guy that, has got, like opportunities as well. He could go out to America with him. He could bring him back to Sheffield again. But I mean, he's not what we're in now. There's every chance that Kell Brook won't be boxing. Can we see him boxing this year? Probably not. So that's 12 months out the ring then. So it's going to be interesting. I wouldn't be shocked if he called it quits, or if somehow he gets, like a random opportunity to box for a world title, either at 154 or at 147. But aside from that, again, it wouldn't shock me if he walked away and never fought again. Which is a shame, because he's had. Yep. I was going to say he's got a lot of talent, and his career has been just an abomination. It's been horrendous. Waited too long chasing Amir Khan. Had the ability, to potentially, potentially unify the division. I don't think it'd be wrong in saying that. Brook was, I think at one point was excellent, and he's just been so horribly mismanaged, in terms of the fights and things like that. And his record could have been so much better. And he ended up somewhat cashing out against, he dared to dream against Gennady Golovkin, but I think that knocked years off him, because he got absolutely battered. I mean, he'd have won the fight if Golovkin didn't throw any punches. That's what people like to say. But no, that fight, I think, took a hell of a lot out of him. I mean, he smashed his orbital bones up, and I think Errol Spence did the other one as well. So, yeah, it's a shame, really, because, like I said, he's a talented guy, but it wouldn't shock me if he walked away.
Yeah, a few Brook-related Bellew of the Weeks coming up. Next Saturday evening in South Africa, Kevin Lerena returns against former Tyson Fury opponent Sefer Seferi. IBO Cruiserweight title is on the line. We'll watch with interest what happens with that one. I was saying about Bellew of the Weeks, wasn't I? We shall be getting onto that very shortly. Ryan Deal said, will Chisora's latest outburst make soundbite appearances on the pod? Yeah, I should have cut some for tonight, shouldn't I? Problem is with this new Mixler setup, I can still play them through the microphone, but there is actually a playlist where you can upload clips to play, but only the listeners can hear them. The guys on the panel can't hear them, so it makes for a couple of minutes of dead air if the fellas can't hear them. So we'll have to try and get that sorted out. Maybe have a word, see if I can sort it out for you there, Ryan. Andy, Greg Cross was talking about Derek Chisora. On the Chisora theme, a split from Caldwell midway through a camp. Does this change opinion on his chance in the fight against Parker? So the fact that he split with Caldwell, hasn't gone back with Don Charles, David Hayes around in the background, isn't he? Who's Chisora training with now? Does this affect his chances against Joseph Parker, in your opinion, Andy?
I don't think so. I mean, at this point in his career, he's all the fighter he's going to be. Simple fact at this point, he's a guy who holds the pads, make a few adjustments, and carry his water bucket for him, really. Understand that the split for Caldwell is simply travelling. I think Caldwell stays somewhere around about Rotherham somewhere, and I don't know where Del Boy's staying over on that, but it's just simply the commute doesn't suit both parties and stuff, so I wouldn't look too much into it. At this point, and then both careers and stuff, again, it depends what Del Boy turns up in, what kind of shape he's in, if he's in the mood. But again, we keep saying this about him and that as well, and he's also getting up in age. How many miles he's got left in the clock at this point? Parker, he's had numerous paydays over the years. Has he still got the fire in him? Does he still want something to prove? Who knows? It's a crossroads fight. It's a classic crossroads fight for both guys, actually, in all honesty. But heading into it, I've got to go with Parker, actually. I just think I think at this point he's probably going to want it slightly more what Del Boy wants, but who knows? We all know he's fucking on the hinge sometimes, Del Boy. So we'll wait and see how it plays out.
It's a strange situation, Rob, because we're looking at Tyson Fury's level of opposition. Someone said the other day, why not make the third Tyson Fury-Chisora fight? This was obviously before Fury had fought Wallin and the cut and what have you, and I thought to myself, nobody would want to see that again. But given what Chisora's, the sort of form he's in, given the guys Fury's fighting, it's not completely outrageous, as strange as it sounds.
No, well, he's better. He's probably a better opponent than Wallin, isn't he? Definitely than Tom Schwartz, so not outrageous by any stretch. Not that you'd want to see it again. I think it'd be an easier night for Fury with Chisora at this stage. But I mean, it just goes to show how bad the heavyweights are, really, isn't it? When Chisora's still knocking about. Think about it, you know what I mean? There's Wallin gone in there 19-0 fighting shit. they're all below the top 4 heavyweights, 3 heavyweights. They're really all dross, like all the heavyweights, like, aren't they?
Pretty much. Give me Fury versus Chisora 3 on pay-per-view, says Rob, live on the Asylum, 5 to 10 on a Sunday evening, episode 340. Gabe, before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks, let's hear from you on this card over in the Rabobank Theatre. Sounds like a nice place over in Bakersfield, California. Even. Tom Brown Promotions, Samson Lukovic, nobody cares about any of that. USA Fox Sports 1, Thomas Delorme going against the undefeated Terrell Williams. I've seen Terrell Williams fight before against somebody. I think it was Roach, was it, in the last fight? Yeah, he looks decent anyway. Could give Delorme... He probably beat Delorme, he's been brought in as the prospect. Chris Colbert, 12-0 featherweight against Miguel Beltran Jr. No idea about them two. Peter Quillen, Gabe, that's where it's all at. The big return. Kid Chocolate going in against Alfredo Angulo. Oh my god, why on earth are we seeing Peter Quillen against Alfredo Angulo at super middleweight in late 2019, Gabe? Please explain this to me.
PPC payday, baby.
Yeah, I was about to say the exact same thing, and that's the only purpose that serves. Quillen doesn't want to fight anyone because he's afraid he's going to get knocked out again. So he would rather try to face a washed-up, 10 years past it, Alfredo Angulo. Look, I was a huge fan of Angulo back whenever he was still a valid competitor. After his stint in I believe it was a detention center for, I guess, illegal immigrants to the United States, if I recall correctly. But he did a stretch where I guess he had gotten into some kind of trouble for coming across the border or something to that effect, is what I remember. After he got out of there, he was never the same again. And then he went over to Virgil Hunter, and not only did he get on a losing streak, he actually got worse as a fighter by training with Virgil Hunter. He was so fucking slow the last few times I've seen him. I mean, he literally could be compared to a person trying to move through a swimming pool full of peanut butter. I mean, he was so fucking slow. There was no way he was going to compete. His power is not there. I mean, I'm really disappointed to see him coming back and taking this fight. Hopefully, whoever he's training with now has gotten him on the up and up and can get him into the shape that he used to be in. But he's always been a guy that, blocks punches with his face, and that's not any way to be. Quillen is not a feather fist. I mean, he can hit. So, part of the issue that I have with it is they brought the carcass of the dog in, and now they're going to take advantage of it by letting Quillen smash up on him and essentially pulverize him, which is kind of what I expect. I mean, I definitely hope that I'm 100% wrong and that Angulo can starch Quillen out. But, I mean, even at his prime, he was never a starch kind of guy. He was a guy that would just batter the fuck out of people until they had nothing left. This card is complete shit. It's complete shit. I just have no understanding of why Quillen, at this point in his career, would want to face somebody like Angulo and what that would provide for you other than a payday. Surely he could have gotten better money from somebody else. I mean, I don't know. It's almost disgusting to see Angulo in the ring with a guy like Quillen at this point of their respective careers. But the rest of the card, I'm not really all that thrilled about it. I'm not a big Delorme fan, so that doesn't do a whole lot for me. It seems like kind of your typical Fox Sports card or PBC card where they have one fight with some recognizable names and there's some other guys that we know on there, but overall there's a bunch of fights that are absolutely pointless and do nothing to further the respective careers of the fighters. So, I'll tune into the fight, I'm sure, just because there probably won't be anything that I'd rather be doing, but I'm not excited about it in the slightest.
Fox Sports 1, Gabe, is that something everybody can get hold of, I believe?
No. Fox Sports 1 is kind of like I don't know what you call it. Kind of it's not HBO level premium, But I'll put it to you this way. In the United States, we typically have, our packages. So if you buy like a base level package, it's not going to be included in that. It may be up a couple levels. So like typically what happens is I use DirecTV as my service provider because I live out in the sticks and I can't get, some of those high speed providers that offer the digital cable or whatever that kind of runs through the same shit as the internet and all that other stuff. Since I can't get that, I have to use a satellite provider. So on the package that you get ESPN, which is not like a basic channel, you get Fox Sports on that level. Your basic channels are going to be like your channels 3 to, I don't know, used to be 18 back where I'm from, but it's not a whole lot of channels. It's going to be your local news stations, and that's really it. So it's and Fox is included in that, but Fox Sports is a completely different channel.
There we are. Hopefully you'll get hold of it somewhere by some means. I believe that is everything for now. Let us move on to the Bellew of the Weeks before we finish up for episode 340. Rob Kelly's still with us, so is Dave the Hater Lowback, Gabe, Andy and Ozzy Smith alongside me, Steve, here as usual. Nyota, the first nomination from Hamed. Saw Hamed floating about in the chat there. Nyota said after the Lomachenko-Campbell fight, 114, 113 to Lomachenko for me. Fuck off with those whack scorecards. Don't know what he was watching, scoring it that close. Lawrence Okoli was on Twitter talking about all the belts that he owns, European, British, Commonwealth, WBA, Continental. You're basically Usyk, mate, says Fanatic. Exactly, agrees Lawrence Okoli. Ryan Younger has nominated Matt at Boxing UK. Like I said, Derek Chisora versus Parker is the only fight on this card worth watching. It should be main event. Yeah, he should be main event in the stocks. Lord Ryan Brigdale was nominated by Chad Hogan over on Asylum BOTW on Twitter, talking about Nigel Benn and Conor Benn. Not the travesty, that is Nigel Benn returning at 55, which we will discuss very shortly. Nigel for me was a Hall of Famer, says Lord Ryan Brigdale. I agree Conor may not be held up in the same regard when he hangs up his gloves, but could Conor be a two-weight world champion? Absolutely. Absolutely not, I think you'll find, is the answer to that. Dylan O'Brien, talking about what Ozzy was going on about earlier. Kell Brook against Gennady Golovkin, historical revisionist. I beg to differ, says O'Brien. I think Kell was more than holding his own, and if it wasn't for the broken eye socket, I think he would have gone on and maybe won the fight. Judas at Don Harrow nominated him for that. Kevin Byrne has nominated Eddie Hagan, who was talking in the chat below the Kelly Pavlik podcast. Kelly Pavlik and his sidekick James Dominguez were talking about Harry Greb, one of the all-time greats. Eddie Hagan said, coming off the street, I'll whoop Greb's ass, if that is really how he fought. I've seen toddlers look better than him. Greb's chin is a foot over his knee. Come on, man, it's embarrassing, says Eddie Hagan. Wants to take on the great Harry Greb. Not impressed by his style at all. Simon Says Where was nominated. Tony Bellew, talking in the Daily Star, hashtag do the unthinkable. Bellew's pushing this diet and fitness thing, isn't he, at the moment? Just leave him alone. Let him lose weight in peace. Toby has nominated Christopher Barrows, talking about Kell Brook again. Kell Brook was fighting great, to be fair, until he broke his eye socket against Golovkin. His career would have gone a completely different direction if he hadn't have got that injury. He was up on the scorecards and looked like he belonged at that level. Alright then. Philip of Bish nominated Adrenaline Addict, talking about Conor McGregor against Mayweather, saying it was a close fight. Andrew Harrison has been nominated by Zico, talking about progressive tax strategies for Tyson Fury. I'll leave that one to one side on the evening. Eddie Hearn. The main event, says James, talking about Prograis against Josh Taylor. The main event wouldn't sell out a bingo hall. They're using Derek Chisora's name to shift pay-per-views. I agree with everything he said. I'm not sure I agree completely with Chisora. He does put a few bums on seats and people seem to like him these days. I'm not sure he's this selling out a 20,000 arena person that people seem to think all of a sudden though. Prograis against Taylor might not shift too many casual tickets, but it's a great fight. Is Chisora the big seller that he's letting on, Andy?
I wish Callie actually took on Del Boy's comments, fuck off to Scotland basically, because we sell it out up here, no problem. No problem whatsoever. Yeah. It's part of the reason I'm not going to the fight, because it's in London, eh? I fucking hate the place, so I'm not going down for it.
Yeah, completely agree. Not a fan of big cities myself. I'll be avoiding that one like the plague. Great fight though, I'll watch it on telly. Billy Joe Saunders has been nominated for tormenting Starbucks servers by riding his bike through the drive-thru. These are shit, stop doing them, don't want to see them anymore. Tormenting people. I'm not going to say anything else about it. Chad Hogan has nominated Nissi Sauerland. Happy 24th birthday to the biggest puncher in the super middleweight division, Vincent Feigenboots. Yeah, happy birthday from everyone from the Asylum to you as well, Big Vinny. Ben Thorns has nominated Eddie Hearn. Tyson Fury has easy fights that nobody is interested in, and he's supposed to be the best. Oh, the fucking irony, says Ben Thorns. World Boxing Council, WBC themselves, nominated by J.S. Park 10. The Mayan Belt waiting for its owner. Tyson Fury is the Mayan Belt champion. Joe Tessitore, before I forget, I'll throw him in as well. I thought he was absolutely horrendous last night. This fight has had absolutely everything. He was just creaming his pants, and I said on Twitter earlier, if he'd have seen a Matthew Saad Muhammad fight, he would have spontaneously combusted. It was a decent scrap. It was engaging. Fury was cut. There was no knockdowns. Don't think anyone was really truly hurt. Both of them gassed out a little bit. It was a decent scrap, better than we thought. Tessitore was just completely overplaying it. He was being disingenuous, telling people they were seeing something that they weren't. So fuck you, Joe Tessitore, I'm nominating you. Chad Hogan has nominated Sky Sports Boxing. Didn't go full rant mode there, Andy.
Raging.
Kept it sane.
Fucking raging today, mate.
Raging today. Me and Gabe. Absolutely horrendous, says Chad, talking about Sky Sports Boxing. Who is the next Floyd Mayweather? Sky Sports put some names forward. Is it Devin Haney? Is it Jaron Ennis? Whoever that is. Maybe Jessica Ennis. Shakur Stevenson, Ryan Garcia, or Carlos Balderas. Those are the names they're throwing in there. Big Bert at Boxing Boy 24, 84 even, has nominated Tony Bellew for his fitness guide. Here's one then, guys. Quick word on this from anybody who's interested. Trading Leather Boxing. Bellew of the Week nomination. Who the fuck sanctioned Nigel Benn to fight at age 55, or even Ben for wanting to do it himself? I know they'll drag out the Bernard Hopkins was still fighting at 50. No. Will it fall by the wayside? Will the Malta Boxing Commission, or will he go over to Australia and fight Beaker over there? Why on earth are they doing this?
Well, he's got a house over in Australia, isn't it? That's where he stays. It's the ideal place to make it.
Mm-hmm.
Surely. And the Aussies are doing it. Oh, fuck it. You can't what their scenes like just now. Christ's sake, they have more fights at ringside rather than what happens in the ring, you know?
The bikers. There always seems to be bikers, don't there, in those Aussie shows?
It is like... Oh, I tell you what, it's serious shit. They actually... You aren't allowed to... You know, see, biker gangs, for example, you can only legally drive 2 at a time. You know, so like these big, like, you know, like training them, it isn't allowed in Australia anymore than that, eh?
Just a bonkers situation. What do you think about this, Rob? We've heard of Steve Collins and Nigel Benn trying to fight each other. The board wouldn't sanction it. Take Ames in the chat, Rob, says that it's supposed to be taking place in Birmingham.
And that's a travesty. I mean, surely the people around him, the ex-fighters and everything, should pipe up now and be voicing their disapproval and saying this fight should be made. Like realistically, what if he gets hurt? Sergio Bika's probably still got more in the tank left than Ben because he's been more active. Like, so he could hurt him. Like, I don't approve of this at all. I can't even see the funny side of it. It's just scary. Like, 55 and he hasn't fought in 25 years or something, or 20 years. What's that going to look like?
And Sakio Bika, Rob, he's not a great fighter, but I mean, talk about rough and tumble. Remember his fights with Calzaghe. Remember him breaking onto the scene, literally against Marcus Bayer, banging the head in. This is a real rough and tough dude.
Fought everybody as well, and it's been like I said, been really active. Like, so
even
what's this going to look like?
In trouble.
Exactly, hurt Ward, didn't he? So yeah, I don't know. Like, he might have dropped Ward, did he? Oh no, it was Boone that dropped him.
That was Darnell Boone, wasn't it?
Darnell Boone, yeah. No, he definitely
Boone,
he definitely gave Ward some problems though. So what would that look like now? A 55-year-old man, body completely broken down, hasn't been fighting, sparring, like old, like reflexes gone, chin probably gone at this stage. Like, that's a scary prospect. I don't like that at all. Like, no way.
No for Rob. Declan Graffin has nominated Gabe, not our Gabe, Gabriel Flores Jr. for dedicating his fight on Saturday night to, wait for it, Tupac. Maybe the great man's there, kicking it in the Caribbean, watching the Gabe Flores fight. Enjoying the old boxing. What else have we got here, gentlemen? Luke has been nominated by Porky's Corner. It's up to Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing to decide as they own the fight. KSI against Logan he's talking about. As Eddie's British, I'm sure he'll have it sorted. It's not like he isn't used to organising big fights. Porky nominated quite a few people for that thread. Chad Hogan has nominated Bet365 Poker. If Mike Tyson is the best heavyweight of the past 30 years, who are the second and the third? They then put pictures up of Lennox Lewis, Tyson Fury and Vladimir Klitschko. Well, it sure as hell ain't Fury, and I wouldn't even argue that Tyson himself was the best. I'm not going down that rabbit hole tonight. Ryan Songalia has been nominated by Danny Roblowski. Devin Haney fight. The fight is stopped. Devin Haney with a virtuoso, brutal performance. Stoppage of Zaur Abdullayev after the 4th round. Forget the interim belt. Haney is a future pound-for-pound champion. Hard to see anyone beating him, even Lomachenko. Zico, Tyson Fury's post-fight interview has been nominated. I won the prestigious WBC Mayan belt, says Zico. Something to be proud of in my book. Here's a question, says William. Do you think Wallin would have went 12 rounds with AJ or Wilder? I don't. Son Lime jumped in. I don't think Wallin goes 12 with Dave Allen. Who, sir, are you? Nominated Mr. Lime for that one. That, gentlemen, is all the ones I've got. I'm going for Joe Tessitore because he annoyed me. Any other nominations from you, Rob?
Yes. Oh, when you go, Rob.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, I'm nothing for this week, dude.
Rob, maybe Nigel Ben, Andy. Go on then.
No, Nigel's my guy. He was my man growing up and stuff like that. Still bad though, still bad. But no, I'm going to nominate Callie Serlin for that prime Peter Stormare fucking hairdo that he had. Basically, it was prime Prison Break fucking hairdo that fucker had, didn't it? Slicked back at the sides. And Del Boy going mental down the side of the table and stuff like that. And he's like, let me do my bit. He's like, oh, fuck off. You're like, you can just tell both him and fucking Eddie shat their shots. Like, they weren't going to fucking mess with Del Boy, eh? So I think he'll definitely get a few extra shillings in his pay packet for his fight. You can guarantee that. Because he strikes me as the sort that, even though promoters are snides and try to kind of like underpay when they can, Del Boy just strikes me that guy that he won't get fucking bent over. Like, he'll get every fucking penny he's due.
Absolutely, no Vaseline for Del Boy. Billy Joe Saunders, Gabe, has been nominated for his latest antics. A few casuals as well been thrown in as well, including Adrenaline Addict, Tony Bellew for his fitness package, and also Eddie Hagan for slagging off the great Harry Greb. Any nominations from you, Gabe?
No.
Nothing from Gabe. Strong week for Derek Chisora, Dave the Hater Lowback. He seems to be a front runner at the moment. Also Naota for saying that Lomachenko only won by a point against Luke Campbell. Any nominations for you, Hater?
Yeah, I'm going to have to give it to Derek Chisora. It's a toss-up, really, between the absurdity of Nigel Benn fighting again at 55 and Derek Chisora's banter / negotiation mid-press conference. I'm going to have to give it to Derek because the other one is just sad. Nigel Benn was shot to bits in his late 20s, early 30s. Like, in that, his last fight was against one of his last fights. Didn't he fight Collins twice at the end there? He fought him twice, I think, or right. maybe just once. It was painful though. Like, even then, I don't know what age he was, but it was bad. Like, he had nothing, and he just got pounded. And that was back when that was like 20 years ago, as Rob said. So, no, this is terrible. I'm going to have to give it to Derek.
Yeah, the image of Nigel Benn retiring. 96, the second one. I think they're both in 96. When they was towards the end, it was nearly Christmas in 96, the second Collins one, and he retired. We thought for good, but he seems to be coming back again. So Derek Chisora is voted for by Dave. The nominations are over. Let's get on to our picks then. I'm going for Tessitore. Who are you going for, Andy?
I'll go for Del Boy.
Del Boy as well, strong week. I do need to get some clips from that press conference done, hopefully, for next week and get them playing. Rob, who are you going for this week? 2 for Del Boy, 1 for Tessitore so far.
Yeah, it's gotta be the Dark Destroyer, Nigel Benn. I mean, a legend. Talk about a legend of British boxing. Like, Doug DeWitt, Aaron Barkley, Watson fights Eubank. Collins broke down against Collins all those years ago, and if he comes back, like, there's nothing but bad things are going to happen, and someone should be trying to stop him. Like, can't be letting this happen. Like, it's bad for the sport.
Bad for the sport, says Rob. Ozzy, you're off my screen, Ozzy, so I forgot about you there. So if you have any nominations, throw them in, but if not, go ahead straight into your pick.
I don't have any nominations, but I'm going to pick Nisa Sutherland for saying that Andy's favourite fighter, Vinny Fagenbutts, is the hardest hitting super middleweight in the world.
What a cunt.
So yeah, Nisa Sutherland gets my vote for this one.
Would you not let him off, Andy, given the haircut?
No, it's Callum.
No, that was Nisi, no Kelly.
Oh, yes, sorry, that's the other one, isn't it?
Yeah, the poor one.
There you go. I'm trying to find, in honour of Derek Chisora, the Chisora clip here while we're live on air, but I'm struggling to
Wait. We want to be honest, right?
I don't know which one I've got here, but I'll play it anyway. I've found something, so let's see what it is.
You're a fucking bum. You're a fucking asshole. I hope you fucking die.
There you go.
That's the one.
Good old Derek. Gabe, who are you going for this week?
I'm not really sure. This is a really tough one. I thought Dale was great. I got to tell you, I thought that whole press conference was tremendous. I really enjoyed it. You know, he said, if you're not going to give me top bill, then pay me. I want more fucking money. It was just great. It carried on for fucking hours on end. I love Dale. I don't see how anybody could not like that. He's a fucking character. So I'm not going to vote for Dale just because I think he's great. I'm going to give it to Joe Tessitore because I fucking hate ESPN and I hate Joe Tessitore and I hate Mark Kriegel more than anyone else. And I hope Mark Kriegel gets in to give an interview and the fighter has been knocked out, gets up and is unaware of what's going on and punches his fucking face off. Even though I didn't have to listen to Kriegel last night. So hope he gets punched in the face.
Yeah, not a lot of Kriegel action. So 2 for Tessitore, 2 for Ben, and 2 for Chisora. We'll give it to Chisora, Andy, I think. Honorary nomination. He deserves the Bellew of the Week to his services to shit talking. He's not afraid to tell it as it is. He has a few quid in the bank as well. I don't think he really cares. Just a shame he didn't pick Eddie up or throw him or throw a table or something. That would have been the icing on the cake. But happy enough for Chisora as the main man here, Andrew.
Chisora was at us. He's shrewd.
He was in on it, but I'll tell you what, I would love to have, just for banter purposes, I'd love to have seen Del Boy get up on the table, walk along that said table, grab Eddie by his fucking hair plugs, pull him up on the table and fucking DDT him Jake Snake Roberts style right through the fucking foundations by the way. How's that for banter, Eddie? Try and sell that shit.
What a sight that would have been.
Oh man,
I'll give it to you, Dale. Well done.
He was at us.
No, I know, but he's still unpredictable. Even if they've agreed it, you could still see him do something off the cuff, Rob.
Yeah, no, he's.
I said a minute ago, I hope he glasses somebody.
He glassed me.
That's my favorite press conference.
Fucking glassed me.
That was fucking brilliant.
I'm gonna shoot you.
He glassed me.
I will
The sad thing was though, Don Charles, Don Charles, one of the most decent guys, ended up getting the left hook, didn't he?
Oh man. Just that was
punishment.
Wasn't it? Fonte had just called him a salesman. He said, "Go away, David. You're a salesman." And then they all kicked off. Then just said, "Go to see you. I'm going to slap him."
Exactly. They ended up fighting on the Luxembourg Boxing Commission on the Frank Warren Show. Let us finish up then, everybody, with a bit of Chisora chat at the end. Congratulations to Derek. You are the Bellew of the Week winner for episode 340. Right, let's finish with you, Rob. Thanks for coming on tonight. Pleasure as always. Dave the Hater Lowback, coming off his deathbed. Don't think he was ill. Gabe Lewis as well. Andy Patterson, Ozzy Smith. Jason Chuckrew's in the chat, Take Ames, MB, all the usual faces. We'll catch you all again for episode 341 next Sunday, same time, same place. I've been Steve Wellings. Thank you and goodbye.